The world has quieted, the stars are whispering, and the moon, pale and kind, keeps gentle watch above. Come closer, dear dreamer, lay your worries by the bedside. Tonight we travel not by foot nor ship, but by thought. Through silken corridors of time, past veils of dust and golden memory, into palaces of power, into the hearts of queens, queens of fire and shadow, of wisdom and sorrow, some beloved, some feared, all unforgettable. These women wore crowns not just of gold, but of burden, brilliance, and sometimes betrayal. So breathe gently as we begin this gentle journey, one queen at a time, one dream at a time. Let history hold your hand, and sleep come softly. Cleopatra the 7. Shh. The night wraps around you like velvet. The world is hushed. The stars twinkle above, ancient and knowing, just like the stories we're about to share. Close your eyes if you like, or let them gently fall as we begin this first tale, a gentle descent into time. Tonight we begin with a queen whose name still echoes through marble halls and desert winds. She was born by the Nile, where the river sings to the reeds and lotus blossoms open like sleepy eyes in the morning mist. A place where sunlight dances golden across calm waters. In this sacred land, beneath the shadow of pyramids and in the lap of gods, a child was born, Cleopatra. Not the first of her name, nor the last. But she would be the one the world would remember. Her cradle was not just a basket of reeds, but a palace filled with secrets, scrolls, and the murmurs of prophecy. She was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, rulers of Egypt, descended not from native blood but from Macedonian Greeks who had taken root in Egyptian soil centuries before. Her ancestors spoke Greek, followed Greek gods, and yet ruled a land ancient even to them, a place of magic and mathematics and mysteries. Older than the marble temples of Athens, Cleopatra was the daughter of Pharaoh Ptolemy II, a man burdened by debts and ties to Rome. From an early age she learned to listen more than speak, to observe more than act. Court life was not a lullaby, it was a chessboard, and every gaze was a move. Her eyes, dark and intelligent, missed little. She heard the whispers of Rome's growing hunger, of courtiers with hidden agendas, of sisters who smiled with secrets behind their smiles. But Cleopatra learned something more important than fear. She learned how to charm the viper without getting bitten. At night, while others slept, she crept into the great library of Alexandria. It is said she read scrolls by torchlight, lips moving silently over the wisdom of Aristotle, Homer, and Egyptian priest-kings. Language became her shield and sword. She spoke many, including the ancient Egyptian tongue that her own family had overlooked. This alone made her beloved in the eyes of her people. She did not seek power in the beginning. She sought understanding. She wished to know the heartbeat of her people, the rhythm of the Nile, the sighs of the wind that brushed over obelisks and crocodile-haunted banks. She walked among the poor disguised in linen. She listened, and in doing so, she was learning the art of ruling long before the crown would touch her brow. She would sit by the lotus ponds for hours, watching the dragonflies skim the surface, watching how even the smallest ripple changed everything. She believed leadership was like water, soft but unstoppable, shaping the world not through fire, but through patience and depth. Even in childhood, stories grew of her presence, how she spoke to elders with respect and clarity, how animals calmed in her arms, how she could recite entire scrolls from memory. She was called the Scribe Queen long before she wore a crown. The palace she grew up in was a world within a world, courtyards filled with sweet dates and myrrh-scented air, fountains whispering secrets, guards whose eyes never closed. But beneath the golden marble, uncertainty always lingered. Brothers plotted, sisters whispered, allies changed like the shifting desert winds. Yet Cleopatra, even as a girl, understood that survival was not enough. One must shape fate, not follow it. So she studied more. She learned medicine and astronomy, politics and poetry. She debated with philosophers and questioned the priests. She listened to the heartbeat of Egypt, and slowly it began to echo within her own chest. Then came the moment she first saw Rome's ships, on the horizon their sails white like clouds over the sea. She knew then the world was shifting. Egypt, once proud and mighty, was becoming a jewel others sought to wear. Her father, weary and bowed by years of compromise, returned from exile propped up by Roman favours. Cleopatra watched him closely, noting how even kings could become pawns. Her nights grew longer. She dreamed of rivers running dry, of temples crumbling, of voices calling her name across the wind. Dreams that wrapped around her like prophecy. And when she awoke, she always returned to her scrolls, to the stars, to the quiet voice within that whispered, "Prepare." When her father died, she was just a teenager, and she did not inherit the throne alone. Egypt had old rules she must rule beside a brother, Ptolemy XIII, barely a child. They were married not by choice, but by decree. Yet the court was soon divided. Her brother's advisers saw Cleopatra as a flame too bright to control. And so she was exiled, cast out of her own palace, sent into the desert heat with only a few loyal servants and her unshakable mind. But even in exile, she did not weep. She wrote. She planned. She watched the stars and waited. She travelled the outer provinces in secret, disguised as a merchant's daughter, a priestess, even a dancer. Everywhere she went, people remembered her not for her beauty but for her presence. Like the hush before a storm, like the promise of dawn. Farmers swore she made the crops bloom with her footsteps. Mothers whispered that her gaze could soothe a crying child. Far across the sea, Rome stirred like a lion awoken. And into that lion's den Cleopatra would soon walk. But not tonight. Tonight, dear dreamer, we drift through the palace gardens of memory. Jasmine climbs the walls. Water trickles from marble fountains. The moonlight glows like melted pearl across polished stone. Cleopatra, still young, still learning, still listening, walks softly through this world of shadow and silk. She has not yet conquered hearts or shaken empires. She is not yet legend. She is still a girl with books beneath her pillow, dreams behind her eyes, and history awaiting her name. So let your breath slow, like the tide of the Nile. Let the world fall away like sand through open fingers. Let the Nile carry you. Let the moon watch over you. Let sleep find you as it found her. Cleopatra sleeps, and so may you. Sleep well, dear dreamer. Sleep well under ancient stars. Nefertiti. Shh. The night settles like a silken veil over ancient lands. Beyond the veil of time, in a land carved by the breath of gods and the golden touch of sun, her name still lingers soft as wind across the dunes. Nefertiti. Her name means the beautiful one has come, and oh, how she did. She came not as a storm but as a whisper, not as thunder but like dawn slipping gently over the limestone temples. Before statues were carved in her honour, before the myths and the marble and the loss, she was a girl beneath the same stars you lie under now. The sands remember, the sky remembers. Born into a world of incense and ibis cries, she was not always queen. Her childhood is mystery hidden beneath centuries like treasure beneath the earth. Some say she was the daughter of a high priest. Others whisper she came from foreign lands. But none deny her presence, even as a child lit rooms like flame catching on silk. She learned the gods' names and the rhythm of ritual. She learned how eyes speak louder than lips. Her footsteps in palace halls were soft, but even the walls leaned in to listen. The priests watched, the nobles noted. There was something about her that made time pause. And then he saw her. Amenhotep, the prince who would become Akhenaten, a ruler obsessed not with many gods but one. The sun, the Aten. When they wed, the land held its breath. Two flames side by side, daring to reshape the heavens. Together they rose, not only in title but in vision. They would change the way Egypt prayed, lived, dreamed. They would build a city from nothing at Ekataten, the horizon of the sun. Temples without shadows, altars open to sky. She was not a silent consort. No, she stood by his side like a mirror of flame. In reliefs carved across limestone, she appears with crown and sceptre, smiting enemies, leading worship, riding chariots. A queen, yes, but more. A partner, a priestess, a goddess among mortals. The people spoke her name with awe. Not for her beauty alone, though even the sculptors carved her as if their hands had fallen in love, but for her strength. She led rituals beneath the blazing disk. She blessed offerings. She bore daughters 6 in all in a time when lineage meant everything. And still, she was more than mother, more than wife. She was the sun's reflection. She was balance in the midst of revolution. As the old gods were cast aside, as temples were left in dust and silence, Nefertiti stood in golden light, unwavering. But every sun must cast a shadow, whispers began. The court, once filled with hymns to Aten, now echoed with unrest. Priests displaced, nobles displeased. The land aching for old gods grew restless. Plague touched the city, daughters died. And slowly the harmony she held began to unravel. The man she once stood beside faded from public view, some say in sickness, others say in madness, and Nefertiti. For a while she remained, leading, ruling. Some believe she took on a new name, a new identity, even ruled as Pharaoh herself for a brief time. Her silhouette against the horizon remained poised, luminous, untouchable. And then, like a candle snuffed by unseen wind, she vanished. No tomb, no clear record, no final resting place beneath the stars. Just silence. But the world remembered. Artists, centuries later, would find her face beneath sand and stone, that famous bust with almond eyes and graceful neck. So perfect it seems she might speak again. So serene it calms the heart to look upon her. She is the eternal pause between prayer and answer, the hush before dawn, the hush in which you now rest. Nefertiti does not need a tomb to be remembered. She lives in the light that spills through temple columns, in the gentle hush of the desert wind, in the quiet strength you carry inside, even when all else seems uncertain. So close your eyes now, dear listener. Let her story wrap around you like linen in the still dark of morning. Let the soft warmth of the sun's first light find you where you are. Sleep comes, as it came to her, gently, with dreams shaped like lotus blossoms and temples kissed by golden sky. Sleep well, dear dreamer. Sleep well under ancient stars. Hatshepsut. Let us travel once more through the endless corridors of time. Imagine yourself standing before the majestic cliffs of Deir el-Bahari, where the golden sun casts long shadows across in the hush of the evening, When the world softens and the sky deepens into a gentle indigo, the ancient stones. Here, in the heart of Egypt, lived a queen whose story is both bold and tender, a tale of courage, wisdom, and quiet strength. This is the story of Hatshepsut. She was born into the royal house of Egypt, a land where the sun always shines bright and the river Nile flows like a lifeline for the people. From her earliest days, Hatshepsut was surrounded by the murmurs of palace life, the soft footsteps of servants, the fragrant scent of incense drifting through columns, and the distant songs of priests calling to the gods. She grew beneath the watchful eyes of her family, a child with eyes full of curiosity and a spirit that would one day challenge the very fabric of tradition. Her youth was wrapped in the gentle embrace of love and expectation. As the daughter of Thutmose I and Queen Amole, she was raised with care and taught the ways of the royal court, the art of diplomacy, the sacred rituals, and the knowledge of the gods that guided Egypt. But even as she learned these lessons, there was something quietly remarkable about her, a spark of determination that set her apart. When her father passed away, the throne was meant to pass to her stepson, Thutmose III, a young boy still learning to walk the path of kingship. But Hatshepsut, wise and strong beyond her years, took on a role that few women before her had dared to claim. She became regent, a guardian of the kingdom, guiding Egypt through a delicate balance of power and peace. Yet, the story does not end with quiet guardianship. Slowly, gracefully, Hatshepsut stepped beyond the boundaries laid before her by tradition. She claimed the full title of pharaoh, ruling not as a queen beside a king, but as the king herself. In a world ruled by men, she stood tall, a figure of quiet dignity and unwavering resolve. Her reign was marked by peace and prosperity, a time when the arts flourished and the temples of Egypt were adorned with beauty. She commissioned grand building projects, including her magnificent mortuary temple carved into the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari, a place where nature and stone met in perfect harmony. The temple's terraces rose like a staircase to the heavens, echoing the eternal journey of the soul. Hatshepsut's image was bold and commanding, often depicted wearing the traditional beard of the pharaoh, a symbol of divine kingship. Yet behind this powerful mask was a woman of gentle wisdom who understood the delicate art of leadership, not through force, but through grace and vision. Her ships sailed to distant lands, bringing back treasures and stories from the mysterious land of Punt, a place of spices and gold. These expeditions were celebrated not just for their riches, but for the spirit of exploration and connection they inspired. But as with all stories of great power, shadows crept quietly beneath the surface. The traditions of Egypt were deeply rooted, and some in the court whispered doubts and fears about a woman who dared to wear the crown. Hatshepsut faced the subtle currents of opposition with calm strength, never faltering in her duty to her people. Her reign lasted for over 2 decades, a time when Egypt blossomed like the lotus flower under the warm sun. Yet, as the years passed and her stepson grew into his role as king, the tides began to shift. After her death, attempts were made to erase her memory, her name removed from monuments as if to deny her place in history. But the spirit of Hatshepsut could not be so easily forgotten. In the stones of her temple, in the stories passed down through generations, her legacy remains, a reminder that strength can be gentle and courage can take many forms. Now, as you lie in your own quiet world, feel the soft embrace of history wrap around you. Imagine the gentle breeze that rustles the palm leaves, the warm glow of the Egyptian sun melting into twilight, and the steady flow of the Nile beneath the moon's watchful eye. Breathe in deeply, and let the calmness of Hatshepsut's reign fill your heart. Let her story remind you that true power often comes wrapped in kindness and vision. Let the peaceful strength of a queen who dared to lead carry you softly into the night. Sleep well, dear dreamer, sleep well, cradled by the whispers of ancient stones and the endless sky. Zenobia. The moon hangs low tonight, like a pearl cradled in the velvet sky. The world is still, the stars ancient and watching. Let your thoughts drift, your breath slow. We are crossing into a land where silence speaks in echoes, and forgotten cities dream beneath the dust. There. Do you feel it? A whisper on the wind, a story carried from the edges of the Roman Empire, from where the desert met ambition, from a city once called Palmyra. It was a place of splendour, where columns rose like frozen music, and silk flowed through markets like water through fingers. Camels lined the colonnades, their saddles filled with gems, spices, scrolls, and hopes. In this cradle of civilization, amid fountains and fig trees, a girl was born who would one day challenge emperors. Her name was Zenobia. Her skin was kissed by sun and sand. Her gaze, unblinking and fierce and carried the stillness of statues and the spark of fire. She was no ordinary girl. Even as a child, her footsteps fell like prophecy. She rode horses with the ease of wind and recited poetry that made even the old philosophers lean in closer. She studied the great queens before her, Cleopatra of Egypt, Dido of Carthage, Boudica of Britannia. She whispered their names into the starlight, learning their strength, carving their spirits into her own. Her favourite stories were those of resistance, of women who stood alone before giants, of leaders who bent fate like reeds in their hands. As she grew, so did her world. She married King Odenathus, a man as bold as the city they ruled. Together they stood like twin pillars against the rising threats, Persia to the east, and the ever-demanding shadow of Rome to the west. They fought, and they won. But then he was gone, assassinated, struck down in the silence of power's dark corners. And suddenly Zenobia stood alone. But she did not tremble. She did not weep. She stepped forward, not as widow, but as regent, ruler for her young son, but queen in all but name. And oh, how she ruled! She wore armour studded with emeralds, her helmet crowned with a plume of desert feathers. She held councils beneath pillars, her voice calm, sure, like the hush before a sandstorm. Zenobia expanded her kingdom not through greed, but through vision. She marched south, claiming Egypt. She moved west into Syria, north into Anatolia. Everywhere she went, cities opened their gates not in fear, but in awe. Because she was not just a warrior. She was a scholar, a lover of language, art and truth. She built libraries, welcomed poets, protected philosophers. Under her reign, Palmyra became more than a trade hub. It became a light, a shining dream in a world of shifting shadows. She minted coins with her own image, had scrolls penned in Greek, Aramaic, and Egyptian. Even as Rome glared, Zenobia built her own vision of empire, one where East met West in beauty, grace, and strength. But empires are jealous things. Rome watched, and Rome responded. The Emperor Aurelian gathered his legions. Steel and flame marched east, and the sand stirred once more. Zenobia faced them, with archers on horseback, with banners lifted, with her heart steady. She fought like the lioness stories promised she was, but she could not stop the tide. Her armies fell, her gates broke. Captured, she was taken, not as a prisoner, but as a prize. Yet even in chains, Zenobia stood tall. Some say Aurelian paraded her through Rome in golden shackles, yet spared her life out of admiration. Others say she chose her ending, drinking poison rather than bow. But there is another story, a softer one, that Zenobia lived out her days in a villa by the Tiber, surrounded by scrolls and silence, teaching her children philosophy, planting olive trees, and walking among roses, because some warriors fight with swords, others with memory, and Zenobia's memory never faded. She is still there, in the ruins of Palmyra, where the wind hums through fallen pillars, in the lullabies sung by mothers who teach courage, in the eyes of every soul who dares to defy fate. So now, dear dreamer, breathe deeply. Let the sand fall slowly through the hourglass. Let your thoughts drift where moonlight meets marble. Zenobia rides still, beneath a sky of stars that remember, a queen not broken, but eternal. Sleep now. Sleep under the protection of her spirit. Let the desert cradle you, and may your dreams be fierce, wise, and free. Queen of Sheba, the night is calm and tender now, a velvet blanket spread across the sky, and the stars like gentle lanterns shimmer with stories older than time itself. Breathe slowly, deeply, let your eyelids grow heavy and your mind drift like a feather on a warm breeze. Tonight we travel to a land of golden sands and ancient mysteries, where the sun paints the earth in hues of amber and fire. Far beyond the reaches of bustling cities and rolling hills, past the whispering palms and shimmering oases, there lies the kingdom of Sheba, a realm wrapped in gold and legend, where the air is sweet with the scent of myrrh and frankincense, and the rivers sing softly beneath the moon's watchful gaze. Here, a child was born under a sky thick with stars, a girl destined to become a queen whose name would ripple through time. Her cradle was a place of warmth and light, filled with the laughter of courtiers and the hush of ancient wisdom. Her father, a king of great renown, taught her not only the power of the crown, but the strength of kindness, the weight of justice, and the beauty of curiosity. As she grew, her world blossomed like a rare desert flower, bold, radiant, and full of secrets waiting to be discovered. She learned the language of the wind, the songs of the birds, and the stories whispered by the stones beneath her feet. With eyes bright as polished amber, she watched the world with wonder, absorbing knowledge like the thirsty earth drinks the rain. But her heart longed for more than the borders of her kingdom. Whispers carried tales of a distant king, Solomon of Israel, whose wisdom was said to be as deep as the ocean and as vast as the sky. Curious and fearless, she prepared for a journey unlike any other. Her caravan, laden with treasures from her land, gold, spices, rare gems, set out beneath a dawn that promised new horizons. The road stretched endlessly before her, winding through deserts kissed by the sun's heat, across mountains that pierced the clouds like ancient sentinels, and along seas that glittered like scattered diamonds under the moonlight. Along the way she met travellers, traders, and sages, each sharing stories and songs that wove into the tapestry of her adventure. When at last she arrived in Jerusalem, the city welcomed her with open arms and curious eyes. The palace was a place of wonder, marble columns gleaming, gardens fragrant with jasmine and rose, and halls echoing with the hum of life and wisdom. King Solomon greeted her not just as a ruler, but as a seeker, a mind as sharp as her own, a spirit fierce yet gentle. Their conversations flowed like a river, filled with riddles, poetry, and the soft dance of understanding. She challenged him with questions wrapped in mystery, and he answered with patience and insight that shimmered like the stars. Days passed like soft petals falling on a still pond, their minds entwined in a dance of knowledge and respect. Together they explored the realms of philosophy, the secrets of the heavens, and the delicate balance of power and peace. When it was time to leave, the Queen of Sheba carried more than gifts in her hands. She carried new wisdom in her heart, new dreams in her soul. Her journey home was gentle and bright, the golden sands welcoming her return like an old friend. Under her reign, Sheba flourished like never before. Markets buzzed with life. Artists painted stories in colour and light, and the people thrived beneath her watchful care. Her rule was a delicate balance of strength and grace, a harmony of fire and water, light and shadow. And now, as you lie here, wrapped in the quiet of night, let the soft echoes of her story cradle your thoughts. Let the warmth of distant desert fires soothe your spirit. Let the gentle breeze of ancient lands whisper peace into your dreams. Sleep now, dear dreamer beneath the endless sky. Let the stars guard your rest and the moonlight guide your dreams. Sleep well, wrapped in the golden glow of forgotten kingdoms. Sleep well, as the Queen of Sheba watches over you tonight. Elizabeth I of England. As the evening sky deepens into a velvet cloak and the stars twinkle softly like distant lanterns, the world around you quiets down. A gentle stillness settles, wrapping you in calm as if the night itself were breathing alongside you. Let your eyelids grow heavy now, your breath slowing with each passing moment. Feel the weight of the day melt away like leaves drifting on a slow river. Tonight, we journey back in time to a kingdom far away, where a young princess was born into a world of whispers and shadows, Elizabeth of England. Her early life was a delicate dance between light and dark. Born to King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, her beginnings were marked by both hope and heartbreak. Her mother's tragic fate left a silent echo in the castle halls, and young Elizabeth learned early how fragile power could be. Yet within her stirred a quiet fire, a spark of resilience that no storm could extinguish. She grew not just in years, but in wisdom, walking through corridors lined with history and secrets. Her days were filled with lessons in languages, science and art, each scroll and book adding layers of strength to her gentle spirit. She discovered the power of words and thought, weaving them like threads into a tapestry that would one day cover the crown she was destined to wear. When the time came to ascend the throne, England was a land torn by conflict, religious strife, political plots, and the weight of expectations. But Elizabeth, with her steady gaze and calm heart, took up the mantle not with arrogance but with a measured grace. She knew the throne was both a gift and a burden, and she met it with courage born of understanding. Her court blossomed with poets and artists who saw in her a muse, a queen whose brilliance shone through the darkest days. Yet beneath the silken gowns and jewelled crowns danger lurked. Plots to overthrow her whispered through castle walls like shadows in the night. But Elizabeth, ever vigilant, held her ground, her mind as sharp as the finest blade, her spirit as steady as the ancient oak. Through decades she navigated the tides of war and peace, of love and loneliness. She weathered storms both seen and unseen, a symbol of strength to her people. She chose to rule with wisdom and heart, not merely with power. Her reign was a golden age, a time when England found its voice and danced with destiny. And now, as you lie here, your body sinking deeper into comfort, imagine the quiet halls of her palace, the flicker of candlelight casting gentle shadows on the walls. Picture Elizabeth, not as a distant queen, but as a young girl learning to dream, a woman embracing her destiny with quiet confidence. Let her story wrap around you like a warm blanket. Let the calm of her steady rule seep into your bones, soothing your thoughts and quieting your mind. Like the slow turning of a page in an ancient book, feel yourself drifting further, deeper into rest. Your breath flows easy now, slow and rhythmic, like waves caressing a calm shore. The cares of the day fade as the night sky watches over you, stars twinkling softly, guiding you toward peaceful sleep. Elizabeth's legacy is not just in history, but in the calm strength that settles into your heart as you close your eyes. Let her courage inspire gentle dreams. Let her wisdom whisper softly, calming your soul. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and may your night be as serene and enduring as the reign of Elizabeth I. Good night and sweetest dreams. Mary, Queen of Scots. Born amid the flickering candlelight of December 1542, Mary Stuart entered a world both regal and precarious. Daughter of King James V of Scotland and Mary of Guise, her birth came just days before her father's untimely death, leaving the infant queen to inherit a throne shrouded in turmoil. Scotland, a land of rugged highlands and fierce clans, was ripe with political tension, religious strife, and the ever-looming shadow of England to the south. Raised in the grandeur of Linlithgow Palace, Mary's early years were spent away from her homeland, nurtured in the refined courts of France, where she was sent for safety and education. Surrounded by tutors, nobles, and gentle whispers of power, she grew into a figure of striking beauty and sharp intellect, her Scottish roots blending with French elegance. Her ascent to power was woven by alliances and the tides of European politics. At just 5 years old, she was betrothed to the Dauphin of France, Francis, a union that promised to strengthen ties between the two kingdoms. When Francis became king in 1559, Mary stepped into the role of Queen Consort of France, basking briefly in the glow of a new throne. But this rise was fragile. The death of her young husband in 1560 thrust her back towards Scotland, a land she barely knew but was destined to rule. Returning at 18, Mary found a kingdom transformed by Protestant Reformation, with nobles divided in loyalty and religion. She was a Catholic queen in a land moving toward Protestantism, navigating a maze of intrigue and mistrust. Her early reign in Scotland was marked by promise and cautious hope. Mary carried herself with grace, embodying the traditions of monarchy and the hopes of her supporters. She married Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, strengthening her claim to the English throne through his lineage. Together they envisioned a united realm under their rule. Yet beneath the surface, cracks began to show. The court buzzed with conspiracies, rival factions jockeying for favour. Mary sought to assert her authority, but the tensions of religion and politics pulled her in opposing directions. The fragile balance between her Scottish heritage and her French upbringing left her isolated in a land where loyalty was as fleeting as the Highland mist. The turning point came with a series of personal and political disasters that unravelled Mary's reign. Her marriage to Darnley, once a symbol of unity, became bitter and violent. His arrogance and ambitions clashed with hers, and his murder in 1567, shrouded in mystery and implicating those close to Mary, sparked scandal. In swift succession, Mary married James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell, widely believed to have orchestrated Darnley's death. This union alienated many of her supporters, igniting rebellion. Forced to abdicate, Mary was imprisoned by her own nobles, her power slipping like sand through her fingers. The glory of queenship faded, replaced by betrayal and imprisonment. In this period of downfall, Mary's story darkened. She became a prisoner, first in Scotland, then in England, held by her cousin Queen Elizabeth I, who viewed her as a threat to her own crown. For 19 years, Mary's life was confined within stone walls and shadowed corridors, a queen without a kingdom. Her correspondents plotted rebellions and sought allies, yet every plan was met with failure. The weight of captivity and isolation took its toll, and her dignity became entwined with tragedy. Whispers of plots and schemes surrounded her final days, painting her as both a victim and a danger to the fragile peace of the realm. Mary's fall culminated in her execution in 1587, an act both political and personal. Found guilty of conspiring against Elizabeth, she faced death with a haunting grace. Her final moments were steeped in sorrow and regret, but also in a quiet strength that echoed through history. The fall of Mary, Queen of Scots, sent ripples across the kingdoms, her death both a warning and a catalyst for change. She became a symbol of the tragic consequences of divided loyalties, religious strife, and the perilous dance of power. Today, Mary's legacy remains a poignant reminder of the fragile nature of rule and the human costs behind the crown. Her life story, woven with beauty, betrayal, and tragedy, warns us of the dangers that come when ambition collides with fate. She is remembered as a queen whose dreams were shattered by the very world she sought to govern, a legacy both sorrowful and timeless. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Mary, Queen of Scots, carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Catherine the Great. Born in the quiet town of Stettin in 1729, Sophie Friederike Augusta von Anhalt-Zerbst-Dornburg grew up surrounded by gentle forests and the soft sounds of rural life. Her childhood was peaceful, filled with the calm rhythm of days spent reading by candlelight and walking through gardens kissed by morning mist. Though her family was noble, their life was modest, far from the glittering courts of Europe. From an early age, Sophie showed a bright mind and a gentle curiosity, absorbing stories of distant lands and great thinkers whispered on soft breezes. Her mother, a kind woman, ensured that Sophie learned languages, history, and philosophy, nurturing a quiet strength and wisdom within her. In the soft glow of twilight, the young girl dreamed of places beyond the horizon, sensing that her life's path might one day lead far away from this peaceful home. At 15, Sophie's world changed as she was chosen to marry the heir to the Russian throne, a distant and vast empire full of mystery and cold winters. Leaving behind the familiar sounds of birdsong and soft rain, she journeyed to the majestic but sometimes harsh courts of Russia. Upon arrival, she embraced a new life, gently stepping into the traditions of the Orthodox Church and adopting the name Catherine. The palace was grand, filled with soft tapestries, flickering candlelight, and quiet corridors echoing with whispered secrets. Though her new husband, Peter, was unpredictable and often distant, Catherine moved through the palace like a quiet breeze, observing and learning. With patience and grace, she made friends among the courtiers and guards, quietly weaving threads of loyalty and trust. Beneath the cold marble and gold, a gentle determination took root within her. When Peter became emperor, his reign was marked by unrest and dissatisfaction. Catherine, ever watchful, felt the weight of the crown calling to her. Slowly, with careful thought and soft words exchanged behind closed doors, she gained the support of key nobles and soldiers who longed for a steadier hand. One quiet morning in 1762, while the world outside still slumbered, Catherine's plans unfolded like the first light of dawn. The palace stirred as she moved forward with a peaceful yet firm resolve, leading to Peter's removal. Though his death soon after cast a shadow over her triumph, Catherine stepped gently into the role of empress, aware that the path ahead would be both challenging and filled with quiet moments of strength. Her early reign was like the gentle unfolding of spring, filled with hope and a blossoming vision for her empire. She surrounded herself with thinkers and artists who spoke of reason and progress, their voices like soft melodies in her ears. Catherine invited philosophers to her court and dreamed of schools, libraries, and laws that would bring light to the darkest corners of Russia. The palace gardens flourished, filled with blooming flowers and the gentle hum of bees. For a time it seemed as though the empire itself might awaken into a new season of growth and kindness, guided by a ruler who valued wisdom and care. Yet, beneath this hopeful surface, the vastness of Russia revealed its complexities. The land stretched far, with many voices and traditions intertwined like the roots of ancient trees. A great rebellion rose quietly in the countryside, led by a man claiming to be the lost emperor. It was a time of shadow and unrest, a storm that whispered through the tall grasses and restless forests. Catherine responded with quiet firmness, restoring peace with measured steps and a steady heart. Though the weight of these events dimmed some of her earlier dreams, she held on to the light within her, ruling with a blend of care and strength. Her court buzzed with life music floated softly through the halls, and laughter sometimes broke the silence like sunbeams through leaves. In these years, Catherine expanded her empire gently yet firmly, stretching its borders like a growing river carving new paths through the land. Through diplomacy and conflict, she secured new territories, bringing fresh colours and voices to her realm. Within the palace walls, the days were filled with soft candlelight and whispered conversations. The nobility enjoyed their privileges, and the serfs worked the land, their lives touched by the rhythms of nature and the seasons. Catherine's life was marked by both grandeur and quiet moments, evenings spent gazing at the stars, contemplating the vast sky above her vast empire. As age gently settled over her, Catherine's health waned like the fading light of dusk, but her spirit remained unbowed. She continued to guide her empire with a steady hand, preparing it for the future as the soft sounds of night wrapped around the palace like a velvet blanket. When she passed in 1796, it was with peaceful grace, leaving behind a Russia transformed, strong, cultured and complex, a world where light and shadow danced together. Catherine, the Great's life, whispers a gentle reminder about the balance of power and kindness, ambition and care. She was a woman who reached for the stars while walking softly upon the earth, a ruler whose story is both a beacon and a lesson. Her legacy invites us to dream not only of greatness, but also of the quiet strength that guides us through the night. Now, as you settle beneath your own soft blanket, let the story of Catherine the Great soothe your mind like a calm river flowing through the quiet woods. Feel the gentle night air wrap you in peace. Sleep well, dear dreamer, carried softly on the wings of history's quiet whispers. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Catherine the Great carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn's story begins quietly in the gentle hush of a noble household, sometime around the year 1501. She was born into a world of both privilege and delicate expectation. Her father, Thomas Boleyn, was a thoughtful diplomat who travelled across courts in Europe, while her mother, Elizabeth Howard, came from a family known for its grace and influence. From the very beginning, Anne's early days were filled with soft lessons of language, music, and poetry, practiced under the calm light of candle flames. As a child, she was sent away to foreign lands, the Netherlands and France, where gentle breezes whispered through palace gardens and the scent of blooming flowers filled the air. There, Anne learned to speak several languages and move with the elegance of queens and princesses, her heart quietly shaped by the calm yet lively courts abroad. These years wrapped around her like a comforting shawl of knowledge and dreams, preparing her for a future filled with both hope and uncertainty. Returning to England as a young woman, Anne stepped into a world that shimmered with possibility, but also shadows of intrigue. Her arrival at the English court brought a delicate mix of admiration and curiosity. King Henry VIII, a man of powerful presence, noticed her bright eyes and clever smile. Unlike others before her, Anne carried herself with quiet strength and refused to simply be a fleeting mistress. She wished for something deeper, the promise of marriage, of a lasting bond. This desire, gentle but firm, set in motion changes that would ripple across the kingdom. When the Pope declined to annul Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, the king's heart broke with frustration, leading him to create a new path, a church of his own, right in the heart of England. Anne's family slowly rose like a morning sun, their fortunes glowing warmer as her favour with Henry grew. The court buzzed softly with whispered hopes of change. When Anne was crowned queen in 1533, her presence seemed like a fresh breeze stirring through the halls of power. She carried herself with quiet dignity and a mind bright as morning light. Her marriage to Henry was a hopeful promise, as many wished for a future painted with progress and new ideas. Anne's laughter and learning filled the palace corridors, and she encouraged gentle reforms, hoping to brighten the kingdom's spirit. She gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth, a tender new life who would later illuminate England's history. Yet, deep inside, Anne longed for a son, a wish wrapped in the softest hope, carried on whispered prayers. For a while the court blossomed with optimism, though shadows lingered just beyond the edges, quiet and patient. But life's gentle rhythms often change like a shifting breeze, and Anne's path grew more tangled as time passed. The son she hoped for did not come, and the king's attention began to drift like autumn leaves carried by the wind. Rumours, like soft but sharp whispers, spread through the marble halls. Anne's strong spirit, once admired, now invited suspicion. A gentle lady named Jane Seymour appeared quietly beside the king, her calm presence a stark contrast to Anne's fiery light. The balance that once held Anne safe began to sway under unseen pressures, as those who wished her harm quietly gathered their strength. The palace, once a place of warmth, grew colder with secrets and shadows were like cold winds in a winter night, hinting at the turning tide of Anne's fate. Then came the darkest moments, cloaked in silence and sorrow. Anne was accused of things she never did, whispers of betrayal, scandal, and crime. These words, soft but cruel, the trial that followed was a sombre event, a quiet stage where truth and falsehood blended in uneasy shadows. Anne faced the coming storm with a brave heart, though the weight of sorrow settled deep within her. Her life, once full of light and promise, drew toward a final evening beneath the tower's quiet stones. On a gentle morning in May 1536, Anne's journey ended, leaving behind a world forever changed by her courage and her story. Yet from this ending a lasting light was born. Anne's life sparked the beginning of a new chapter for England, one of religious change and hope for the future. Her daughter Elizabeth would grow to become a shining queen, leading the nation into a golden age filled with art, wisdom, and peace. Anne's tale whispers across the centuries, a gentle reminder of how dreams and determination can shape history, even when shadowed by sorrow. She stands as a symbol of strength, a story woven softly through time, teaching us about the fragile beauty of power and the tender courage it takes to stand tall. Now, as you rest beneath the quiet stars, let Anne's story wrap around you like a gentle breeze, soothing your thoughts and calming your heart. Imagine the soft rustle of leaves in a peaceful garden, the warm glow of candlelight flickering in a still room, and the quiet promise of a new dawn. Drift slowly into the embrace of sleep, where history's whispers carry you gently toward dreams filled with light and hope. Rest easy, dear dreamer, for the night holds you in its tender care. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Anne Boleyn carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Victoria. In a grand palace nestled quietly in London on a gentle spring morning in May 1819, a tiny princess was born. Her name was Alexandrina Victoria, a child destined to carry the weight of a kingdom on her small shoulders. The walls around her echoed with history, yet her world was calm and sheltered. Her father, Prince Edward, passed away when she was but a baby, and so her mother took great care to protect her from the noise and bustle outside. Victoria grew up surrounded by soft whispers of books, lessons, and quiet guidance, her days wrapped in the gentle embrace of royal duty and tender care. But beneath the careful watch, there sparkled a curious and spirited heart, eager to learn and understand the world beyond. Fate gently opened a new path when her uncle, King William IV, passed away in 1837. Suddenly, the young princess, barely 18, became queen. The crown found its way to her not through struggle but through quiet chance, a promise waiting to be fulfilled. With a heart both brave and tender, Victoria stepped forward into the light of the throne. The vast empire awaited her care, stretching across oceans and continents, shimmering with possibility and promise. She accepted the burden and the blessing, ready to guide her people with a steady hand and an open heart. The early days of her reign shimmered like morning dew on new leaves. Victoria shone with youth and grace, her spirit bright with hope. She learned the ways of governance with careful attention, and soon the people adored their young queen. Her marriage to Prince Albert brought warmth and joy, a tender partnership built on love and respect. Together they nurtured a growing family, their children filling the palace with laughter and life. It was a time of new beginnings, the air filled with the hum of progress, the whisper of inventions, and the soft promise of change. Victoria's reign became a beacon of stability, a quiet light guiding the nation forward. But as gentle as the morning, the sky can darken. In 1861, the Queen's beloved Albert fell ill and passed away. His absence was a shadow that stretched long and deep across Victoria's heart. She withdrew from the public eye, her grief turning her world quiet and still. The vibrant Queen became a figure wrapped in mourning, her days echoing with memories and longing. The bright energy of youth softened into the measured rhythms of sorrow. The Victorian era, named for her, reflected this blend of strength and restraint, a time when progress walked hand in hand with tradition and hope was tempered by the weight of loss. Though Victoria's rule was marked by dignity, the empire she led bore scars and struggles. Across faraway lands, the reach of British power stirred both admiration and pain. Battles were fought, cultures clashed, and voices rose in resistance. The grandeur of the crown was shadowed by the costs of empire suffering and sacrifice woven into its story. At home, society changed too, shifting and growing in complex ways. Victoria stood as a symbol of these times, steadfast, sometimes stern, always burdened with responsibility. Her story is not of perfect light, but of the complex dance between power and compassion. After more than 6 decades, the long journey of Queen Victoria gently came to a close. In the quiet of Osborne House, she breathed her last, leaving a world forever changed by her presence. Her son, Edward, took up the crown as a new century dawned. Victoria's reign was more than a passage of years. It was a testament to endurance, to the deep currents of duty that flow through time. Her legacy whispers lessons of strength, love, loss, and the delicate balance of rule. Now, as your eyes grow heavy and your breath slows, imagine the gentle unfolding of her life, the quiet moments, the soft triumphs, the shadows passed with grace. Let her story wrap around you like a warm, comforting shawl, a lullaby carried on the breeze of history. Feel the calm settle within and drift gently into peaceful sleep. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Queen Victoria carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Isabella, the Hood of Castile. In the quiet early morning of April 22nd, 1451, within the sturdy stone walls of Madrigal Castle, a princess was born. Her name was Isabella, daughter of King John II of Castile and his wife Isabella of Portugal. From the very start, her life was wrapped in the intricate patterns of royal duty and family whispers. The castle halls echoed with distant voices, soft steps, and the weight of expectation. Though she was born to noble blood, Isabella's childhood was filled with lessons not only of reading and writing, but of patience and quiet strength. Tutors guided her gently through stories of history and faith, while her mother nurtured her spirit with warmth and care. She learned early that the world she was entering was one of both beauty and complexity, where power was a careful dance and every step mattered. As time passed, the kingdom of Castile was restless. Her half-brother, King Henry IV, ruled with uncertainty, and many longed for a steady hand to guide the land. Isabella's path to power was neither simple nor certain, woven with alliances and quiet determination. In 1469, a new chapter began when she married Ferdinand of Aragon, a union full of promise and strength. Together they dreamed of uniting their kingdoms and bringing peace to a divided land. When King Henry IV died in 1474, the crown gently settled upon Isabella's head, and with it the hopes of her people. She became queen, calm and resolute, ready to lead with grace and wisdom. Though challenges whispered from the shadows, she faced them with a steady heart, determined to build a kingdom united in faith and purpose. The early years of her reign were soft with promise. With Ferdinand by her side, Isabella began to weave a tapestry of reform and renewal. Their rule breathed life into courts and towns, encouraging art, learning and justice. The people looked upon their queen with hope, seeing in her a steady light after years of unrest. Her days were filled with thoughtful decisions and gentle strength, guiding Castile toward unity. The air was alive with possibility, and the land seemed to stretch toward a brighter future. For a while, the gentle rhythm of peace and progress sang softly through their castles and villages. But even the gentlest light casts shadows. As Isabella's faith deepened, so too did her resolve to unite Spain under one religion. In 1478, she and Ferdinand founded the Spanish Inquisition, a force meant to guard the purity of faith, but one that also brought fear and sorrow. Those who practiced different beliefs, Jews, Muslims and others, faced suspicion and trials. The walls of the kingdom echoed with whispered accusations and silent prayers. What had begun as a dream of unity now carried a weight of cruelty and pain. The Queen's strength became a stern hand, and her determination cast long shadows over the land. This chapter of her reign was a reminder of the delicate balance between conviction and compassion, a lesson whispered through the ages. Years flowed gently forward, and with them Isabella's health slowly waned. Her crowning achievement, the final conquest of Granada in 1492, marked the end of centuries of struggle. The last Moorish kingdom fell, and Spain was united under one crown and one faith. The celebrations were quiet yet profound, a closing of a long and winding road. Isabella watched as her children grew, ready to carry the torch of her legacy. When her time came, she passed away softly in 1504, leaving behind a kingdom forever changed. Her reign, like a tapestry, was woven with threads of light and shadow, triumph and sorrow. The story of Isabella's life was complete, resting now in the gentle folds of history. Isabella's legacy is one of contrasts, a queen who brought unity but whose reign also bore the weight of intolerance. She reminds us that power holds both the seed of greatness and the shadow of hardship. Her life speaks softly across time, teaching us about the delicate dance between hope and fear, faith and freedom. She is a figure whose story gently calls us to reflect on the complexity of leadership and the enduring quest for peace. Now, as your breath slows and the quiet night wraps around you, imagine the soft unfolding of Isabella's journey. The strength in her quiet resolve, the dreams that lifted her forward, and the shadows she met with grace. Let her story soothe you like a gentle lullaby carried on a soft breeze. Feel the calm settle deeply within your heart and drift slowly into peaceful sleep. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Isabella III of Castile carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Empress Matilda. In the soft chill of early February in the year 1102, a child was born into the halls of English royalty, her arrival quietly shaping the future of a restless kingdom. This was Matilda, daughter to King Henry I of England and Matilda of Scotland, born amid hopes and expectations wrapped in fragile promise. Her earliest days unfolded within towering castles, where stone walls held stories of power and legacy, and courtyards echoed with the murmurs of nobles and knights. Though her childhood might seem cloaked in privilege, it was marked by a delicate balance of protection and watchfulness. Tutors taught her not only letters and scripture, but also the sharp art of politics, for from a young age she understood the throne was not simply inherited, it was fiercely guarded. The laughter of youth mingled with lessons of loyalty and survival, as the weight of her family's legacy rested quietly on her small shoulders. As Matilda grew, so too did the world around her shift like clouds across a restless sky. At just 12, she was married to Henry V, the Holy Roman Emperor, swept away to a foreign land draped in golden banners and lofty ambition. She became an empress, surrounded by splendour yet burdened by the gravitas of her role. The distant echoes of her childhood castle faded as she learned the delicate dance of empire, each smile and word measured, every move watched by allies and rivals alike. When Henry's untimely death left her a widow far from home, her heart was heavy but her resolve steady. She returned to England, where her father's throne awaited a successor. Yet fate was a complicated thread upon her father's death. The crown slipped away not to her, but to her cousin Stephen, who claimed the throne with charm and cunning, igniting a fierce contest for power that would engulf the kingdom in unrest. For a fleeting moment, Matilda's return to England kindled hope among those yearning for peace and rightful rule. Nobles and knights gathered to her banner, stirred by her strength and quiet dignity. She pressed forward with steady purpose, her claim to the throne shining like a beacon amid the gathering shadows. In London, where the kingdom's heart beat strongest, she was welcomed briefly as a queen, her presence a promise of order and renewal after years of turmoil. The city streets, alive with whispered hopes, seemed to hold their breath, as if waiting for a new dawn to break. Yet, even the softest dawn can be chased away by dark clouds, and betrayal awaited. Her allies faltered. The gates of London closed against her, forcing her into a harrowing flight by night, a queen without a crown yet not without courage. The kingdom spiraled deeper into a storm known forever as the Anarchy, where battles raged and loyalties shifted like restless tides. This turning point shaped Matilda's reign and her spirit. The dream of peaceful rule gave way to relentless conflict. She became a warrior in every sense, a leader who stood firm through sieges and skirmishes, whose voice and will cut through the clamour of war. The land was bruised and battered, villages burned, families scattered, and hope grew thin like morning mist fading in harsh sunlight. Her determination, once seen as gentle strength, was now a force to be reckoned with, a symbol of resilience in a world gone turbulent. Yet war's shadow is long and unforgiving, touching all it meets with loss and sorrow. Despite her efforts, the kingdom suffered, its people caught in a bitter crossfire of ambition and survival. The cruelty of the age was not hers alone, but of the chaos that power and pride can unleash upon innocent lives. The years wore on, and through the ceaseless struggle, a new light began to emerge in the form of her son Henry. Though Matilda herself never wore the crown she sought, her tireless fight laid the foundation for her son's future reign. Henry would bring an end to the civil war and usher in a time of healing for the fractured kingdom. As he ascended to the throne, the weight of Matilda's sacrifices and battles was quietly honoured in the restoration of peace. In her later years, Matilda withdrew from the front lines of power, her health gently waning but her spirit never dimming. She spent her remaining days surrounded by quiet reflection, her fierce heart softened by the calm of age. When she passed away in 1167, she left behind more than a tale of war. She left a legacy of courage, tenacity, and hope for a future shaped by perseverance and justice. Looking back on Matilda's life, we see the story of a woman whose strength carried her through storms of betrayal and battle, who navigated the treacherous waters of power with both steel and grace. She reminds us that history is not only made by those crowned, but also by those who fight in the shadows, by those whose names are whispered with respect and awe for the paths they forged. Her journey teaches us about resilience, the ability to rise again and again, even when the world seems against us. It is a story woven with both light and darkness, a reminder that behind every throne lies a story of sacrifice and struggle. As you drift into sleep, let these thoughts soothe you, like a quiet stream flowing gently through your mind, carrying away the worries of the day and filling you with calm. Let your breath grow slow and steady. Imagine Matilda's quiet strength, her unwavering spirit lighting the darkest corners, her courage a soft glow in the night. Feel the peace settle gently, like a warm blanket wrapped around you, comforting and safe. The world slows, the mind calms, and you drift into dreams where history's whispers cradle you softly, where the echoes of the past become a lullaby. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Empress Matilda carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Empress Matilda. Born in a quiet corner of a restless kingdom, Matilda came into the world in 1102, surrounded by the gentle hopes of her family. She was the only surviving daughter of King Henry VI of England and Matilda of Scotland, whose own roots touched the ancient hills of Scotland. From her earliest days, the soft light of her lineage shone quietly, weaving Norman strength with Celtic grace. In the peaceful halls of castles in Normandy, young Matilda was taught the delicate arts of kindness, learning not only to read and pray, but also to understand the gentle rhythms of leadership. Her childhood was filled with lessons in patience and quiet courage, preparing her for a path that few women of her time could ever dream to walk. As she grew, Matilda's life became intertwined with the peaceful hopes of uniting two great houses. When she was still quite young, she was married to Geoffrey of Anjou, a nobleman from across the sea. Their marriage was a soft promise of peace between their families, bridging ancient rivalries with the tender hope of friendship. Though the joining of these two powerful houses was born of careful strategy, it blossomed into a quiet partnership filled with respect and shared dreams. Together, they became the gentle roots from which a new era would grow. The gentle rhythm of Matilda's life shifted with the passing of her father Henry. He had no surviving son, and so he asked his barons to promise their loyalty to Matilda, a rare honour for a woman of her time. Though this promise was made with care, the world was not yet ready to accept a queen. When Henry passed away, her cousin Stephen swiftly took the crown, and the quiet hope that had surrounded Matilda began to ripple with uncertainty. Her path to power was no longer a gentle stream, but a winding river filled with challenges. Yet Matilda moved forward with calm determination, guided by the deep strength nurtured in her youth. When Matilda landed on English soil in 1139, she was met with both warmth and wary eyes. Many longed for peace and looked to her as a beacon of hope, believing she could bring calm to the restless land. She moved with quiet grace, gathering support and capturing castles, not with the roar of battle, but with steady resolve. In 1141, Matilda even captured King Stephen himself, a moment that seemed to promise a new dawn. She was named Lady of the English, and ruled briefly in London, a city full of whispered hopes and cautious dreams. Though her time in London was short, it shimmered with a soft promise. Many saw in her a leader who could restore balance and order, a steady hand amid the swirling unrest. Yet, despite her noble birth and rightful claim, the idea of a woman as queen was still new and unsettling to many. When Matilda chose not to be crowned formally, some began to doubt, and the fragile trust she had built began to waver. Though her heart remained firm, the city's streets grew restless, and Matilda quietly withdrew, knowing that her journey was far from over. What followed was a long, slow struggle. The land was marked by gentle battles and shifting loyalties, like waves softly eroding a rocky shore. Castles and towns changed hands, yet no final victory came. Though the years were difficult, Matilda's spirit remained steady, a quiet flame against the gathering dusk. Her forces sometimes acted harshly, but through it all her resolve never faltered. The years passed in a gentle rhythm of hope and hardship, a dance as old as time itself. In the end, it was not a clash of swords that ended the strife, but a gentle agreement born of weariness. In 1153 peace was made, recognizing her son Henry as the rightful heir to the throne. The land, tired of its endless troubles, welcomed the promise of rest. Matilda stepped back from the storm, finding peace in her later years among the soft hills of Normandy. There she tended her lands and watched her son prepare to bring calm to the kingdom she'd fought so hard to protect. Matilda's story is a quiet song of courage and hope. She challenged the expectations of her time, showing that strength can be gentle and power can be patient. Though her path was marked by struggles and uncertainty, her legacy is one of quiet determination and enduring spirit. She reminds us that even in the most restless times, a steady heart can light the way. Her life is a whispered lesson to all who seek to lead with grace and resilience. Now, as you close your eyes tonight, let the gentle story of Empress Matilda carry you softly into a world of calm and dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Rani Lakshmi Bai. Born in the sacred city of Varanasi in 1828, Manikarnika, who would later become known as Rani Lakshmi Bai, entered the world surrounded by the gentle murmur of the Ganges and the soft fragrance of marigolds in temple courtyards. Her parents, Morapantambe and Bhagirathi Sapre, belonged to a respected Brahmin family, and they nurtured her with love, wisdom and kindness. From her earliest days, Manikarnika showed a spark of courage that quietly lit up her bright eyes. She was not like other girls of her time, who were expected to stay within the sheltered walls of home. Instead, she ran through the village streets, rode horses with steady hand, and learned the art of swordplay from her father, who saw in her the strength of a warrior and the heart of a protector. Her childhood was wrapped in the soft rhythms of Indian life, the ringing bells of temples, the lullabies sung by her mother, and the lively celebrations during festivals that painted the sky with colours and joy. She grew up among the tales of ancient heroes and heroines, stories of valour and sacrifice that settled deep in her soul, shaping her quietly into a leader waiting for her time. Her spirit was free and fearless, like the river flowing through her city, steady and unyielding, ready to carve its own path. When she was still a young girl, her life took a new turn as she was married to Maharaja Gangadhar Rao Nualkar, the ruler of Jhansi. This gentle prince came from a proud line of kings, and their union was both a joining of families and a promise of hope for the future. Manikarnika took on the name Lakshmi Bai, symbolizing the goddess Lakshmi and the strength of a warrior. She embraced her new home with grace, learning the delicate balance of court life while never losing the fire that burned quietly within her. She was beloved by her people, not only for her royal status, but for the warmth and dignity she carried in every step. Together, Lakshmi Bai and her husband dreamed of a peaceful reign. They raised a son, Damodar Rao, and filled their palace with gentle laughter and hopes for their kingdom's future. Yet, the world beyond their walls was shifting beneath their feet. The British East India Company, distant rulers with their own laws and cold ambitions, cast a long shadow over the land. When her husband passed away suddenly in 1853, the fragile promise of security began to waver. The company refused to recognize Damodar Rao as the rightful heir, citing policies that sought to absorb smaller kingdoms into their growing empire. This harsh decision was like a chill wind cutting through the warm halls of Jhansi. Faced with the threat of losing her home, Lakshmi Bai did not retreat into sorrow. Instead, she wrapped herself in the armour of resolve and prepared to defend what was hers with every breath. She was a mother, a queen, and now a warrior, her heart a fortress of courage and determination. The years that followed were filled with quiet tensions and the stirring of rebellion, as the people of India grew restless beneath the weight of foreign rule. Lakshmi Bai became a symbol of hope, a soft but unyielding flame in the gathering darkness. In 1857, when the uprising against British rule broke out across northern India, Lakshmi Bai's moment arrived. With steady hands and a calm spirit, she took the reins of leadership, transforming her grief into fierce protection for her people. Donning armour and mounting her horse, she led her troops through battles and sieges, her presence like a gentle but unbreakable breeze that inspired those around her. Her sword flashed like lightning beneath the soft skies, and her voice carried the quiet strength of the earth itself. The stories told of her bravery spread like wildflowers on the wind, whispers of a queen who fought not just for herself but for the dignity and freedom of all. Though the struggles were fierce, Lakshmi Bai's reign was marked by moments of hope and light. Her leadership brought unity to her people and challenged the great powers with the soft but steady power of conviction. Yet the tides of war are relentless, and the peaceful dreams she held close were tested by the harsh realities of battle. The once calm skies grew stormy, and the gentle hills of Jhansi became battlegrounds. Still, Lakshmi Bai's spirit never faltered. She moved with the grace of a dancer and the heart of a lioness, protecting her people with fierce love and quiet dignity. The years of conflict wore heavily on the land and on Lakshmi Bai's own heart. Battles raged with relentless intensity, and losses cut deep into the fabric of the kingdom. Yet even in the darkest moments, the Queen's resolve shone like a lighthouse guiding ships through stormy seas. She became more than a ruler. She became a legend, a story whispered softly in villages and towns, a promise that even the smallest voice can roar against injustice. Her courage was not born of anger but of love, a love so deep it could calm the fiercest storm. In June of 1858, near the village of Gwalior, the soft flame of Lakshmi Bai's life flickered one last time. Riding at the forefront of battle, she faced the enemy with unwavering bravery. Wounded and yet unbowed, she fought until the end, her spirit rising above the pain like a gentle wind that cannot be seen but is always felt. Her passing was mourned with quiet tears and whispered prayers, a tender farewell to a queen who had stood firm in the face of overwhelming odds. Her legacy remains a soft song carried on the breeze across generations. Rani Lakshmi Bai is remembered not only for her courage in battle, but for the quiet strength that comes from loving deeply and standing firmly for what is right. She teaches us that bravery wears many faces, and that even in the most turbulent times, there is room for grace, dignity, and hope. Her story is a gentle reminder that the greatest power is often found in hearts that refuse to give up. Now, as you close your eyes and let the day drift away, may the story of Rani Lakshmi Bai wrap you in calm and courage. Let her gentle spirit guide you into peaceful dreams where strength and kindness walk hand in hand. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Nur Jahan. In the quiet folds of time, in the year 1577, under the warm skies of Kandahar, a gentle child was born. She was named Meher-un-Nissa, a name meaning sun among women, carrying a soft glow and quiet strength within her delicate frame. Her early days were spent in a world of soft whispers, the fragrance of blooming jasmine drifting through the air, the gentle rustle of silk, and the murmurs of poets reciting verses in her family's home. Her father was a nobleman, loyal to the Mughal Empire, and from him she learned the dignity of service and the power of wisdom. Her childhood was a blend of learning and gentle discipline. She was taught the art of letters, poetry, and the subtle dance of courtly manners. Though surrounded by beauty and privilege, she understood early on that beneath every delicate petal lay the resilience of a root, deep and unyielding. Life's calm was sometimes disturbed by loss, the passing of her father and then her first husband, moments that shaped her with quiet sorrow and growing strength. Fate, as it often does, had a delicate plan for Mehran Nissa. Her path led her to the Mughal court, where she met the Emperor Jahangir, a man both powerful and troubled. Her intelligence and gentle spirit caught his attention, but it was her sharp mind and steady heart that won his trust. Soon she became more than a wife, a partner in rulership, a steady presence behind the throne. She was given the name Nur Jahan, meaning light of the world, a title that reflected her growing influence and radiant grace. The early days of her reign beside Jahangir shimmered with promise. Nur Jahan's presence brought calm and order, like a soothing melody flowing through the often stormy halls of the court. She was a patron of art and poetry, her refined taste colouring the empire with beauty. Her voice was heard not only in whispered advice, but in the decisions that shaped the lives of millions. It was a time when hope blossomed like the gardens she loved, bright, fragrant, and full of life. But as the sun rises and sets, so too did Nur Jahan's life see shifts in its light. Jahangir's health began to falter, and the gentle balance between them faced quiet challenges. With the weight of empire pressing down, Nur Jahan's role transformed from a graceful partner to a determined guardian of power. Her decisions grew firmer, her influence wider, and the gentle light sometimes flickered into sharper shadows. The court's whispers turned to murmurs of envy and caution, but Nur Jahan moved steadily, like a river flowing through rocks, persistent and unyielding. In these years her strength became both her shield and her burden. She faced opposition and intrigue, and some painted her as a figure of cunning and control. Her actions, though aimed at securing peace and prosperity, sometimes cast long shadows of fear and suspicion. The empire's calm was punctuated by moments of unrest, as power's heavy hand left marks on the land and its people. Yet, even in these darker days, Nur Jahan's elegance and intelligence shone, a reminder that history is rarely black or white, but painted in shades of complexity. With Jahangir's passing, the light that had guided her dimmed, and Nur Jahan's place in the palace slowly faded. She retreated into quiet reflection, her days filled with memories of grandeur and the gentle peace of simpler moments. The gardens she once tended and the poetry she cherished became her companions in this twilight. Though her power waned, the legacy of her life lingered, a tapestry woven with threads of brilliance, courage, and quiet sorrow. Her story is not just one of a woman who rose to power in a man's world, but of the delicate dance between strength and softness, ambition and grace. It reminds us that even the brightest lights must one day yield to night, and that in the soft silence of endings there is peace waiting to be found. Now, as you nestle into your bed and close your eyes, imagine the gentle breeze that once swept through Nur Jahan's gardens, carrying with it the scent of blooming flowers and the promise of restful nights. Let her story, with all its light and shadow, lull you gently into dreams where strength and serenity walk hand in hand. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and drift softly into the calm embrace of night. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Nur Jahan carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history, sweet dreams. Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian was born long ago, in the year 624, during the tranquil blossoming of the Tang dynasty. Her early days were spent in a humble family, nestled quietly in the gentle rhythms of a simpler life. Her father was a military officer named Wu Shihuo, and though they were not the richest or most powerful, her family held a quiet respect in their community. From a young age, Wu Zetian showed a curious mind, eager to learn about the world around her. Unlike many girls of her time, she was given the chance to study poetry, music, and the ancient writings, Her childhood, though bounded by the soft limits of tradition, was filled with moments of wonder and discovery. Imagine a young girl sitting by the window, sunlight spilling onto her delicate scrolls, her eyes bright with dreams of what might come. Her spirit was quietly bold, her heart set on a future that few could foresee. As she grew, Wu Zetian found herself drawn into the imperial palace, a world of grandeur and quiet whispers. She first became a concubine to Emperor Taizong, one of the greatest rulers of that age. Her beauty and grace were noticed, but more so was her calm wisdom and gentle strength. When Emperor Taizong passed away, she did not retreat into shadows as many expected. Instead, she entered a Buddhist convent, a place of stillness and reflection, where she spent her days surrounded by the soft glow of lanterns and the quiet murmur of prayers. Yet, even in this peaceful sanctuary, the fire of ambition flickered gently inside her. The world outside was waiting, and soon Emperor Gaozong, Taizong's son, would call her back to the palace. Once again she stepped into the golden halls, but this time she was prepared, her mind sharp, her resolve steady, ready to weave her influence through the delicate dance of court politics. Slowly, like the steady rise of dawn, she gained favour and power, her presence becoming a gentle but unstoppable force. In the early days beside Emperor Gaozong, Wu Zetian's influence felt like a warm breeze spreading through the empire. She encouraged the flourishing of art and learning, supported the quiet power of Buddhism, and sought to nurture talented officials from all walks of life. The court seemed alive with hope, as if a fresh spring rain had settled over the ancient palace gardens. People whispered her name with respect, seeing a new light shining in the imperial presence. Her voice was soft but confident, guiding the empire's course with care. Imagine the peaceful palace evenings, the golden lanterns casting gentle shadows, the calm murmur of scholars discussing poetry and philosophy. For a time, her rule brought promise, a gentle balance between strength and kindness, tradition and change. Yet, as time passed and the emperor's health grew fragile, the delicate calm began to shift. Wu Zetian's quiet determination deepened into a steady will, a force that sought to protect and preserve her place in a world of shifting shadows. She moved carefully, weaving her plans like a soft silk thread through the fabric of the court. Some moments were quiet, almost serene, but beneath the surface currents of tension swirled. Those who stood in her way found themselves fading like distant echoes, quietly removed from the path. The palace halls, once places of gentle light, sometimes whispered with secrets and soft warnings. But even in these darker turns, Wu Zetian's mind remained sharp, her spirit unbroken. She was both protector and ruler, guiding the empire through stormy seas with steady hands. During her reign as emperor, Wu Zetian's presence filled the empire like a steady flame. She broke through the sky like the rising sun, becoming the first and only woman to hold the throne in her own name. Her leadership brought new hopes. Reforms opened doors for talent to shine regardless of birth or wealth. The examination system was refined, allowing more voices to join the chorus of governance. Her love of culture and faith gave rise to beautiful temples and poems that whispered of peace. But alongside these bright moments, there were shadows. Wu Zetian ruled with a firm hand, and sometimes her grip tightened in ways that caused fear. Secret police moved quietly through the streets and halls, keeping watch over whispers and secrets. Those who opposed her often vanished like mist, leaving behind only silence. Yet, even amid this harshness, her reign was a tapestry woven with strength, resilience, and moments of calm beauty. The empire under her watch was both challenged and transformed. As years passed, the tides began to change. Wu Zetian, like all who rule, faced the gentle fading of time. Her power softened as illness and age crept quietly closer. The voices that once bowed to her will grew louder in opposition, and her son returned to the throne, restoring the Tang dynasty's familiar order. Wu Zetian withdrew from the palace's glittering stage, spending her final days in peaceful solitude. Imagine her in a quiet garden, the soft rustle of leaves and distant birdsongs accompanying her last moments. She left behind a legacy as complex as the gentle folds of silk, a story of courage, ambition, kindness, and power. Her life, like the slow-setting sun, reminds us of the delicate balance between strength and peace, between dreams and reality. Looking back, Wu Zetian's story is a quiet reflection on the possibilities and perils of power. She shattered the glass ceiling of her age, becoming a beacon for what might be a woman who dared to rule in a world that said she should not. Her life whispers to us the importance of wisdom and kindness alongside ambition. It tells us to remember that even the strongest rulers carry within them the need for calm and reflection. Wu Zetian's tale is a gentle reminder of how history holds both light and shadow, teaching us to rest peacefully in its lessons. As you close your eyes tonight, let the story of Wu Zetian gently fade into your dreams. Rest peacefully, dear dreamer, in the calm embrace of history's quiet whispers. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Sondok of Silla. Queen Sondok of Silla was born into the quiet folds of history during a time when ancient Korea was a land of soft hills, whispering forests and tranquil temples. Her arrival into the royal family was a gentle promise of change. As the daughter of King Jinpyong, she spent her childhood surrounded by the calm rituals of palace life, where the soft light of paper lanterns flickered on carved wooden walls, and the peaceful murmur of monks chanting drifted through the air like a delicate breeze. The world around her was filled with stories of gods, mountains, and stars, and she grew up absorbing the serene beauty of nature and the quiet strength of tradition. Her family was rooted in respect and deep history, and from an early age she showed a calm wisdom, like the still surface of a pond reflecting the sky. Imagine yourself there for a moment, the gentle glow of lantern light, the soft rustling of leaves outside the palace windows. Take a slow, deep breath in and out, letting the calmness settle like a soft blanket. Though the palace was a place of comfort, the path ahead was not certain. In a kingdom where kings ruled as men and the idea of a woman on the throne was both rare and revolutionary, her rise was shaped by both destiny and the patient weaving of alliances. When her father's reign drew to a close, the kingdom found itself at a crossroads. Many whispered doubts, yet others saw the steady flame of Seondeok's gentle power, her quiet confidence like a lantern glowing steadily in the twilight. Through careful diplomacy and quiet strength, she was crowned the first reigning queen of Silla. The ceremony was a moment wrapped in soft petals and delicate incense, a new dawn glowing gently over the ancient hills. Her accession was a delicate balancing act, a weaving of courage, patience, and quiet determination that promised peace and wisdom to a land ready for change. Breathe in slowly now. Feel the quiet strength growing with every breath. And breathe out, releasing any tension as if it were a gentle breeze carrying away the last rays of daylight. The early years of her rule blossomed like the first spring flowers under warm sunlight. The kingdom breathed a gentle sigh of relief, and hope filled the air like the scent of blooming plum blossoms. Queen Seondeok's reign was marked by a tender care for her people, a gentle nurturing of art, culture, and the spreading light of Buddhism. Temples rose like serene mountains carved of stone and spirit. Observatories reached toward the stars as if to listen to the silent songs of the heavens, and her court became a haven where scholars and poets gathered under soft lantern light. Her leadership was a quiet melody, one of harmony and balance, offering her people a future painted in soft colours, peace and enlightenment. The palace echoed with laughter and learning, a place where dreams were nurtured gently, like seedlings in a tranquil garden. Let your thoughts drift, with the soft scent of flowers and the distant twinkle of stars. Breathe in calm, breathe out peace. But as the seasons turned, so too did the winds of change. The serene balance of her reign began to feel the quiet weight of responsibility. Challenges stirred like distant thunder on the horizon. With the growing threats from rival kingdoms and internal strife stirring beneath the calm surface, Queen Siondeok faced moments of heavy decision and resolve. Her gentle spirit bore the burden of leadership, her heart carrying the delicate weight of protecting her people from shadows that crept silently into the edges of her kingdom. Her decisions became firmer, her gaze steadier, as she balanced mercy with strength. The soft winds of early hope mingled with the cooler breezes of caution, and though her rule remained a beacon, it was now tempered by the wisdom born of trials and silent struggles. Feel yourself resting in this quiet tension, like the stillness before a gentle rain. Let your body soften with every breath, releasing all worries. In the later years, stories whispered through the valleys spoke of a queen who ruled with a steady hand, whose strength sometimes veered into strictness to hold her kingdom together. While her intentions were always to preserve peace and stability, some say the path became tougher, the choices harsher. Her rule reflected the delicate dance between compassion and firmness, where mercy sometimes shared a shadowed space with discipline. The palace walls heard quiet murmurs of discontent alongside the songs of devotion. Yet, throughout this time, Queen Siondeok remained a symbol of resilience, a reminder that leadership often walks the fine line between light and shadow. Her legacy was a tapestry of softness and strength, of gentle wisdom tested by the harsh realities of ruling a kingdom poised between tradition and change. Let the quiet murmur of these ancient stories lull you further. Breathe in softness, breathe out calm. As twilight folded softly over her life, Queen Siondeok's reign came to its gentle close. Like the last light slipping beneath the horizon, she left her throne with quiet dignity, her legacy settling softly over the land like a peaceful snowfall. Though she passed from this world, the calm wisdom she planted in her people continued to flow quietly through the centuries, a gentle river of stories and lessons. The mountains and streams she loved whispered her name in the rustling leaves, carrying the echoes of her reign into the future. In the calm silence after her passing, the kingdom breathed a soft sigh, wrapped in the gentle promise of renewal and hope carried on the breeze. Imagine the last warm light fading gently, wrapping you in its tender glow, carrying you softly toward rest. Breathe in this peaceful moment and breathe out all remaining thoughts. Reflecting on her story, Queen Siondeok stands as a quiet beacon of courage, wisdom, and gentle strength. Her life is a soft reminder that true power often lies not in force, but in patience, understanding, and the quiet nurturing of peace. She teaches us that even in the face of great challenges, a calm heart can guide a nation and light the way through the darkest nights. Her legacy is a lullaby of history, a gentle melody to soothe the restless mind and cradle the soul. As her story drifts softly through time, it invites us to find our own quiet strength and to rest peacefully in the gentle embrace of hope and wisdom. Now, as your breath slows and the world softens into night, let the serene tale of Queen Siondeok carry you gently into the calm waters of sleep. Imagine the soft glow of lanterns flickering against ancient stones, the quiet murmur of mountain streams, and the peaceful rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. Feel the tender touch of history's lullaby wrapping around you like a warm, comforting shawl. Sleep well, dear dreamer, cradled by the soft light of the past and the quiet promise of tomorrow. Sweet dreams. As you close your eyes tonight, let the gentle lessons of Queen Siondeok carry you softly into a world of peaceful dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams, Sister Tomiris. Beneath the wide and endless skies of the Central Asian steppes, a child was born, Her name was Tamiris. She came into a world of soft winds and golden grass, where horses ran free and the stars told ancient stories. Her people, the Massagetai, lived with the rhythm of the land, wild, proud, and free. From her earliest breath, Tamiris belonged to this land. A land where silence spoke louder than words, and strength came wrapped in grace. Her childhood was a quiet song of learning and freedom. She was taught to ride like the wind, to read the stars above, to listen to the hush of the night and the wisdom it carried. Around the fire, elders whispered tales of old, of heroes, of battles, of spirits in the wind, and she listened, with wide eyes and a still heart. Tamiris was not just a daughter. She was the daughter of the king and of destiny. Her father, wise and steady, taught her that leadership is not born in the crown, but in the quiet strength behind your eyes and the courage to stand even when your voice trembles. As she grew, so did her spirit. The steppe shaped her with its vastness, its silence, its challenges. Her bow grew steady, her mind sharp, her soul calm like the midnight sky. She did not seek power. But when her father passed, the people turned to her, not because of her blood, but because of their trust. And so she rose like the sun over the plains. She united wandering clans, brought peace where there was division. She ruled not from behind walls, but from the saddle among her people. Her voice was firm, her heart fair. For a time the winds were kind and the steppe sighed in peace. But peace is a fragile thread, and from the south a shadow stirred. Cyrus, the Persian king, hungered for more. At first Tamiris offered peace, but Cyrus wanted power. Clashes grew along the borders, and then the unthinkable. Her sun, her light, her joy was lost to war. Grief swallowed the silence, and the queen who once offered peace now turned to the sword. Her grief became steel. Her warriors rode like storms. They say her voice on the battlefield was like thunder. Her eyes, fire. The steppe echoed with war, with pain, with vengeance. And then came the final battle. Tamiris faced Cyrus, not as a queen but as a mother, a storm in human form. The Persians fell, and Cyrus was no more. They say, she poured his blood into a cup of wine, a tribute to her son and a warning to all. The war was won, but the silence that followed was not the same. The wind still blew, but it carried sorrow with it. Her heart remained strong, but it bore the scars of loss. Time passed, and slowly the storms faded. Tamiris, once fierce as fire, became legend. Some remember her for wrath, others for courage, but always for strength. Now sleep, dear dreamer. As your eyes grow heavy, let the stars rise above the steppes in your mind. Feel the wind, soft and cool like a whisper across the plains. The voice of Tamiris drifts in that breeze, no longer angry, but calm. Her story is not just of war, but of love, of loss, of resilience. A lullaby wrapped in the rhythm of hooves and the hush of dusk. Sleep now, dreamer, wrapped in the memory of queens and stars. May your dreams be gentle, and may the spirit of the steppe carry you, quietly, peacefully, into rest. Good night. Eleanor of Aquitaine. In the soft candlelight of the 12th century, when kingdoms flickered like dreams across the map of Europe, A girl was born who would one day hold the fate of empires in her hands. Eleanor of Aquitaine entered the world around 1122, in a land of vineyards, stone castles, and wandering poets. Her birthplace, the Duchy of Aquitaine, lay in the warm, rolling hills of southwestern France, a region known for its wealth, its independence, and its refined culture. She was born not into obscurity, but into brilliance. Her father, Duke William X, was a patron of the arts and a ruler of vast lands. He believed in books, music, and ideas, and young Eleanor, his daughter and heir, grew up surrounded by all three. From her earliest days, Eleanor was unlike most girls of her age. She spoke Latin, read deeply, and listened carefully to the songs of travelling troubadours, who spun tales of love, honour, and betrayal. While others learned to sew, she learned diplomacy. While others obeyed, she observed. Her father saw the promise in her, sharp of wit, quick of mind, and bold of heart. When he died suddenly in 1137, Eleanor, barely 15, inherited the duchy. In an age when women were expected to follow, she was called to lead. With her inheritance came danger. Powerful men circled, hoping to claim her lands through marriage. But Eleanor moved swiftly. She married Louis, the young heir to the French throne, and within months she became Queen of France. The match was political, not passionate. Louis VII was devout and reserved, trained for the church before he ever imagined a crown. Eleanor was radiant, lively, and opinionated. From the start they were mismatched, a fire and a feather. Still, they ruled together, and for a time they travelled as one. In 1147 they set off on the Second Crusade, a pilgrimage wrapped in steel. Eleanor brought with her a grand entourage, rich garments, and courtly rituals. In Antioch she advised her uncle Prince Raymond, and even questioned military strategy, a shocking act for a queen. Whispers followed her. Some said she defied her husband, others accused her of scandal. But Eleanor remained composed. She was not born to be silent. The crusade failed, and the marriage crumbled. After 15 years, the union was annulled, officially because they were too closely related by blood, though everyone knew it was Eleanor's strong will that divided them. She returned to Aquitaine not in shame, but in freedom, her land still hers to command. She wasted no time. Within weeks, Eleanor made a daring choice. She married Henry Plantagenet, 11 years her junior, powerful, ambitious, and destined to be king. In 1154 he ascended the English throne and Eleanor became Queen of England. This time she ruled not just one country, but an empire stretching from the Scottish border to the Pyrenees. In those early years Eleanor thrived. She gave birth to 8 children, 5 sons and 3 daughters, and helped govern a sprawling domain. She encouraged poets and scholars. Her court at Poitiers became a beacon of chivalry and courtly love. Songs were written in her honour. Diplomats praised her insight. For a moment in history, Europe was shaped by the hand of a woman who loved words as much as power. But time and pride brought cracks. Henry was brilliant but ruthless. He took mistresses and ruled with an iron will. Eleanor, used to partnership, found herself pushed aside. Their sons, fiery and restless, grew up amid tension. Richard, her golden-haired warrior, John, cunning and hungry, Geoffrey and Henry the young king, each with their own ambitions. Eleanor, ever the strategist, began to support their rebellion against their father. In 1173, civil war erupted. Eleanor backed her sons as they rose against Henry. It was a bold, dangerous act, and it failed. Henry crushed the revolt. His vengeance was swift. Eleanor was captured while trying to flee and was imprisoned. Her titles remained, but her freedom vanished. For 16 long years, the most powerful woman in Europe was held under guard, locked away by her husband. The years passed slowly. Eleanor aged, but her mind remained sharp. She read, wrote, and waited. The world changed outside her walls. Her children quarrelled. Geoffrey died. Henry and John fought for favour. The empire trembled beneath the weight of ambition. Henry himself grew older, paranoid and bitter. When he finally died in 1189, Eleanor, now in her late 60s, was freed by her son Richard, who had become king. She did not retire quietly. No, Eleanor returned to the stage with purpose. She ruled as regent when Richard left for the Crusades, travelled across mountains to find him a bride, and later worked to secure his ransom when he was captured on the way home. At 70, she was still crossing Europe on horseback, negotiating treaties and shaping the destiny of kingdoms. When Richard died, Eleanor helped secure the throne for her youngest son, John. Though he lacked Richard's charm, Eleanor stood by him, her strength now quieter, more tempered. Finally, when peace returned, she withdrew from the court and entered the Abbey of Fontevraud. There, in the soft hush of stone cloisters, Eleanor found rest. She prayed, tended gardens, and looked back over a life filled with fire and storms. She had been queen of 2 great nations, mother to kings, prisoner and regent, lover and legend. The world she helped build had changed. The court she once shaped now remembered her in poems and prayers. She died in 1204 at the age of 82. Few women and fewer queens lived so long or burned so brightly. She was buried at Fontevraud beside Henry, who once caged her, and Richard, who set her free. Her story echoes through time. Some remember her as dangerous, too bold, too clever, too independent. Others call her a visionary, a builder of worlds, a voice in a time that wanted women quiet. She reminds us that greatness often walks in shadows before it shines, that history is not just shaped by the swords of kings, but by the words, choices, and strength of queens. Now, as the night deepens and the world grows quiet, picture Eleanor walking once more through the gardens of Fontevraud. The air is soft. The moonlight glows on ancient stone. She does not speak, but the silence is full of memory. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Eleanor carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Margaret, first of Denmark. She was born in the cold stillness of March, 1353, in Søborg Castle along the Danish coast. The castle, ancient and echoing, watched over the icy waves as a new life entered the world. Margaret, the youngest daughter of King Valdemar IV of Denmark and Queen Helvig of Schleswig, arrived not as a heralded heir, but as a quiet piece in her father's long game of power. Her early years were marked not by play or freedom, but by observation. She wandered silent corridors lit by torchlight, listening to the measured voices of courtiers. Her father was a fierce and clever king rebuilding Denmark from ruin. He was not one to waste opportunity. Margaret, even as a child, became a tool in his vision. She was 6 when she was promised to Håkon VI of Norway, son of the King of Sweden. It was a move made not from affection but from strategy, a child bound to a crown. At age 10, Margaret was sent to Norway. The sea crossing was long and cold, the waves thrashing beneath the ship like restless thoughts. In this new land she was both bride and stranger. Håkon, still young himself, did not yet understand the weight of kingdoms, but Margaret was already watching, already learning. She read accounts, she studied the court, she learned who could be trusted and who bowed only when watched. And when her father died in 1375, she made her first move. Her son, Olaf, just 5 years old, was named heir to Denmark, but Margaret was the true force behind the boy. The Danish nobility saw in her a rare steadiness, something between strength and grace. They appointed her regent, ruler in all but name. In the years that followed, Olaf became king of Norway, and Margaret ruled both realms in his stead. She held the reins of 2 kingdoms, her signature penned in royal ink, her voice the one whispered in council chambers. When Håkon died in 1380, Margaret did not retreat into mourning. She tightened her grip. She moved quietly, methodically, shaping the north in her image. Then, in 1387, her son Olaf died, suddenly, without warning. He was 17. Margaret was left with no heir, no husband, and no king beside her, but she did not fall. The grief, deep as it was, hardened into resolve. The Danish nobles named her all-powerful lady and mistress of the realm. Norway followed. The crowns were hers. Her early reign was marked by care. She mended what war and chaos had broken. She respected traditions but challenged corruption. She was loved, even by those who did not understand how a woman had become their ruler. She travelled across the kingdoms, speaking with villagers and lords alike. Her court was quiet, her dress simple, her heart dedicated to unity. And then came Sweden. Its king, Albert of Mecklenburg, ruled poorly. The people cried out. Margaret answered. In 1389 she crushed his forces and took control. Sweden fell not with fire but with calculation. She imprisoned Albert and was declared sovereign. By 1397 the Kalmar Union was formed, uniting Denmark, Norway and Sweden under a single ruler. 3 crowns, 1 throne. She placed her great-nephew, Eric of Pomerania, on that throne. He was to be king. But Margaret held the true power, and for a time the north was still. But power is heavy, even in steady hands. Over time, Margaret grew distant from those she once consulted. She became wary of the Swedish nobility, who resisted her reforms. Rebellions flared and were met with iron. She did not hesitate. Lands were seized, families exiled. Loyalty was demanded like a tithe. Once her rule had brought calm. Now it whispered of control. Eric, the boy she had chosen, proved a disappointment. Proud and reckless, he ignored her advice and angered the nobles. Margaret tried to correct him, but even she could not shape a will that refused to bend. The seeds of disunion began to grow, and still she pressed on. She travelled to Schleswig in 1412 to settle a dispute. One final act of diplomacy. But fate had other plans. On board her ship near Flensburg she fell ill. Fever took her, slowly and without mercy. Some said plague. Others said her body, after years of burden, had simply grown tired. She died at sea, surrounded by silence. Her body was wrapped in fine cloth and returned to Denmark, to Roskilde Cathedral, where she was laid to rest beneath a tomb carved in her likeness. The woman who had ruled 3 kingdoms, who had outlived husband and child, who had defied an age of men, was now still. The Kalmar Union, her great vision, began to fray soon after. Eric, lacking her wisdom, lost favour. Sweden rebelled. Norway grew distant. Within a generation, the unity she forged dissolved into division. But Margaret remained, in memory, a queen in name, a king in deed. Historians would call her the Lady King, not a consort, not a regent, but ruler, with all the weight and majesty the word holds. Her life stands as a mirror of how power shapes and how it breaks, of how peace is sometimes carved from cold iron, of how a girl betrothed at 6 became the architect of Northern Europe. And now, dear dreamer, her story slips quietly into your thoughts. Let your mind drift to those wintry halls in Denmark. Let the torchlight flicker. Let her walk beside you, her voice calm, her presence steady. Tonight she guards your sleep. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Margaret carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Tamar of Georgia. In the gentle stillness of the 12th century, where the soft winds caressed the towering peaks of the Caucasus, and the early morning mist wrapped the ancient stone monasteries like a delicate veil, a kingdom named Georgia quietly stirred. This land, cradled between mountains and seas, was alive with the whispers of legends and prayers. It was here, beneath a sky brushed with pale stars, that Tamar was born, a child destined to shape the course of history. Her birth was a quiet blessing, welcomed not with the clash of swords, but with the tender murmurs of monks in candlelit chapels. She was the daughter of King George III and Queen Bedtime, born into the ancient and noble Bagratid line, whose roots ran deep into the soil and spirit of Georgia. From the moment she took her first breath, there was a calm about her, a stillness that seemed to hold the weight of coming greatness. As a young girl, Tamar wandered the palace halls softly lit by flickering lanterns and the golden glow of morning sun filtering through stained glass. She moved with gentle curiosity, her eyes wide and thoughtful. Around her, the marble and carved wood whispered tales of saints and kings, battles won and prayers answered. Her teachers spoke in hushed tones, impressed by the quiet strength in her mind. She absorbed the stories of scripture, lore, and history, as if each word was a soft note in a lullaby, shaping her gentle wisdom. Her father, King George, ruled firmly but wisely, knowing the world outside their walls could be harsh. He saw in Tamar a light that could guide the kingdom forward. When he named her co-ruler, it was a quiet revolution, a soft defiance of old customs. Though many nobles doubted a young woman could hold the throne, Tamar's steady calm silenced whispers. She learned patience, how to listen beneath the noise, and how to let strength bloom quietly beneath a calm surface. When her father passed, Tamar stood alone as queen, her crown resting lightly on her head but heavy on her heart. The court was a tapestry of voices, some soft and supportive, others sharp and doubtful. She was only in her early 20s, but already the quiet depth of her resolve shaped the air around her. Her first marriage, arranged by those who wished to control her, brought Yuri, a Rus prince. His presence was like a storm cloud crossing a peaceful sky, loud and restless. Tamar endured as she had learned, with silent grace. When his temper grew wild and his behaviour darkened the palace halls, she gathered the courage to say no. With quiet authority she called the council and Yuri was sent away. Her spirit, once fragile and hidden, now shone steady and clear. A new dawn rose over Georgia under Tamar's gentle rule. She moved the capital to Kutaisi, where soft breezes mingled with the songs of birds and the laughter of children playing beneath ancient trees. She rebuilt churches from white stone, each arch and column a prayer made visible. Poets and artists gathered, their voices weaving into the fabric of the kingdom like a soft melody. Among them was Shota Rustaveli, whose epic words painted dreams of knights and love. Georgia's borders stretched further, touched by wise alliances and careful diplomacy. Battles were fought with the grace of strategy, victories won with minimal bloodshed. Tamar ruled with kindness tempered by quiet strength, inspiring loyalty not through fear, but through the warmth of her presence. Her second marriage, this time to David Soslan, brought her both love and companionship. He was strong and gentle, a steady hand at her side. Together they shared moments of peace and joy, soft mornings, watching the sun rise over distant mountains, evenings filled with gentle laughter and whispered dreams. Yet, even in the calmest seas, storms may gather. Challenges arose quietly at first, a noble's murmur here, a restless soldier there. Tamar faced these with grace, but over time her responses grew firmer. When rebellion flickered in the north, led by one close to her blood, she acted swiftly. The gentle queen became a decisive ruler, balancing mercy with firmness, protecting her kingdom like a mother guarding her children. With each test, she retreated a little deeper into her faith, finding solace in the quiet rituals of prayer and the soft glow of candlelight. She commissioned new churches, places where the heart might find rest. The bright-eyed girl who once wandered palace halls now moved through shadowed corridors with a thoughtful silence, carrying the weight of countless decisions. Her final years were marked by quiet reflection. The loss of David Soslan left a hollow space in her days, but she continued to nurture her children, especially her son George, with gentle care and steady hands. The court slowed, like a river approaching a still lake. Tamar's presence became a soft song, a lingering light that warmed even as it faded. When she passed in 1213, it was as if the earth sighed softly. Her resting place is wrapped in mystery. Some say she sleeps beneath the stones of Gelati Monastery. Others believe she chose a secret mountain sanctuary. Wherever she rests, her spirit lingers, woven into the quiet heart of Georgia. Tamar's legacy is a tapestry of light and shadow, strength and grace. She was both king and queen, warrior and saint, a beacon in a world often dimmed by conflict. Her reign reminds us that power carries weight, but also that even the greatest burdens can be borne with quiet dignity. Now, as the night deepens and the stars twinkle gently above the mountains, imagine Tamar once more. Picture her standing softly beneath the moon's silver light, the cool breeze brushing her veil, her eyes reflecting 1,000 silent prayers. Feel the calm she carried, the calm that still lingers in the stones and streams of her beloved land. Rest now, dear dreamer. Let the gentle story of Tamar carry you into a peaceful sleep, wrapped in the quiet warmth of ancient days and soft, enduring light. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Arseny 2. Arseny 2 was born into a world of grandeur and complexity around 316 BCE, the daughter of Ptolemy the Soter, a former general under Alexander the Great who had seized control of Egypt after the fragmentation of Alexander's vast empire. Her mother, Berenice I, was of noble Macedonian and Persian descent, which gave Arsinoe a lineage that blended the diverse cultures of the Hellenistic world, Greeks, Egyptian and Persian. From the very start, her life was intertwined with the ambitions and struggles of a ruling dynasty, the Ptolemies, who sought to consolidate their power in Egypt and beyond. As a child, Arsinoe was raised in the luxurious courts of Alexandria, a city rapidly becoming the cultural and intellectual heart of the Mediterranean world. Here, amid towering libraries and majestic temples, she was schooled in the arts, philosophy, and the subtle, often dangerous game of royal politics. The environment shaped her mind and spirit, teaching her the importance of alliances, diplomacy, and the exercise of power. Her upbringing was not just one of privilege, but also one of expectation. As a princess of the Ptolemaic dynasty, she was groomed to be a key player in the political landscape, often used as a bridge between rival factions or kingdoms through marriage. Arsinoe's family ties were vast and influential. Her siblings and half-siblings each held places of power or ambition. Her brother, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, was destined to inherit the throne of Egypt, and Arsinoe herself was a vital asset in the family's plans to secure and expand their rule. Her education combined the Greek traditions of governance and philosophy with the rich Egyptian religious and cultural heritage, preparing her to rule in a land where two worlds converged. This duality of identity would come to define much of her life and reign, as she balanced the Hellenistic ideal of monarchy with Egyptian customs and beliefs. The turning point in Arsinoe's rise to power came through her marriages, which were both personal and deeply political. Her first marriage was to Lysimachus, a powerful ruler who controlled Thrace, Macedon, and parts of Asia Minor, making him one of the most influential of the successors to Alexander's empire. This marriage extended Arsinoe's influence far beyond Egypt, positioning her within a broader network of Hellenistic kings. Yet the political landscape was volatile and fraught with danger. Lysimachus's sudden death in battle left Arsinoe vulnerable, threatening her position and the safety of her children. In response, Arsinoe returned to Egypt, where she made a bold and controversial decision. She married her own brother, Ptolemy II. While today such a union might seem unusual, Within the Ptolemaic dynasty, it was a strategic move aimed at preserving the purity of the royal line and consolidating power internally. This marriage shocked many, but ultimately strengthened their grip on the throne and unified their rule. The early years of Arsinoe II's reign alongside Ptolemy II were filled with promise and grandeur. Together, they ruled a kingdom that blossomed culturally and economically, making Alexandria a shining beacon of knowledge, commerce and religion. Arsinoe was not merely a queen consort. She was an active co-ruler who wielded considerable influence. Her presence was felt in political decisions, religious life, and the public image of the monarchy. She was deified during her lifetime, worshipped as a living goddess who embodied both Greek and Egyptian traditions, a divine symbol meant to inspire loyalty and awe among her subjects. This divine status was carefully cultivated, with her likeness appearing on coins, statues, and temple reliefs. The partnership between Arsinoe and Ptolemy II was portrayed as a harmonious blend of brother and sister, husband and wife, ruler and goddess, a union meant to secure stability in a world often marked by unrest. However, beneath this shining surface, the realities of power and family politics soon cast long shadows over Arsinoe's rule. Rivalries within the royal family and court factions began to unravel the delicate balance. The most significant turning point came with her rivalry against Ptolemy II's first wife, Arsinoe I, who was eventually exiled and likely executed under circumstances suggesting Arsinoe II's involvement. This event marked a shift in Arsinoe's character and her approach to power, from hopeful and benevolent co-ruler to a more ruthless and politically savvy queen. The court became a place of intrigue, betrayal, and harsh decisions, where maintaining control often meant sacrificing personal relationships and public goodwill. Arsinoe's rise was no longer just about securing power. It became a battle for survival in a treacherous landscape filled with enemies both inside and outside her family. During this period of intensified rule, Arsinoe II's governance was marked by a reputation for both strength and severity. Ancient sources suggest she was involved in ruthless decisions, including poisonings and political purges, although historians caution that many of these stories are coloured by the biases of rival factions and later writers. Despite this, her rule was effective in expanding and protecting the Ptolemaic realm. She supported military campaigns and diplomatic alliances that secured Egypt's position in the Mediterranean world. At the same time, her patronage of the arts, sciences, and religion continued unabated, reflecting a queen deeply aware of the power of culture and faith in shaping her legacy. Her image was complex, both a beloved divine figure and a feared political player, embodying the paradoxes of Hellenistic rulership. The period of her corruption or terror can also be seen as a necessary phase for consolidating fragile power in a world where weakness often meant downfall. As time passed, Arsinoe's influence gradually waned with the strengthening reign of her brother-husband Ptolemy II. She died around 270 BCE, her death marking the end of a tumultuous but significant chapter in the Ptolemaic dynasty. The circumstances of her death remain somewhat unclear, though it was likely due to natural causes rather than violence. After her passing, Arsinoe was immortalized through the creation of temples and cults that worshipped her as a goddess, ensuring her presence endured beyond death. These religious honors symbolized the blending of mortal and divine in Hellenistic Egypt, a legacy Arsinoe helped forge. Though her time as queen ended quietly, the impact of her life resonated through the political, cultural, and religious spheres of Egypt and the wider Hellenistic world. She left behind a kingdom shaped by both her brilliance and the harsh realities of power. Reflecting on Arsinoe II's legacy reveals the complex nature of her life and rule. She is a symbol of the intoxicating and perilous nature of power in the ancient world, where family loyalty was fragile and the line between divine right and human ambition was blurred. Her story is a reminder that leadership can inspire both greatness and destruction, and that women, often overlooked in history, played critical and active roles in shaping empires. Arsinoe's life teaches us about the intertwining of culture, politics and religion, and the cost of securing a throne in a world of constant conflict. Her legacy is both a cautionary tale and a testament to resilience and strategic genius. Through her, we glimpse the rich, complicated tapestry of history where heroes and villains often wear the same face. As your mind drifts now, imagine the soft flicker of oil lamps in the grand halls of Alexandria, the gentle rustle of silk gowns, and the distant song of temple priests honouring gods and queens alike. Let the calm stillness of this ancient city wash over you, the quiet strength of a queen who lived boldly and ruled fiercely. Let these peaceful echoes cradle you gently toward rest, wrapping you in a warm embrace of history's soothing whisper. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and may your dreams be filled with the grace of ages past. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Arsinoe II carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Theodora. Theodora was born into a world far removed from the splendour and power she would one day command. Around the year 500 AD, in the bustling city of Constantinople, the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, her early years unfolded amidst the clamour of crowded streets and the shadows of modest dwellings. Her family was part of the working class, her father a trainer of bears who performed in the hippodrome, and her mother a stage actress. Their lives were painted with both the colours of performance and the harshness of societal scorn. Being born to such parents meant that respect and privilege were rare companions. Yet even in such humble surroundings, Theodora showed a fierce spirit, a spark of something unyielding that would mark her future. From childhood, she was immersed in the world of the theatre and public spectacle, where she learned not only to captivate crowds but to navigate the complexities of attention and power. Life was often difficult, and at times she faced dangers far beyond what a young girl should endure. It is said that she worked in the less reputable theatres and even in professions considered shameful by society. But these hardships granted her a unique understanding of the marginalised and powerless, an empathy that would later influence her rule and shape her into a protector of the vulnerable. Despite the hardships, Theodora's beauty and presence could not be denied, and neither could the sharp intelligence behind her eyes. Constantinople itself was a city of contrasts. Glittering palaces and squalid quarters, religious fervour and political intrigue, ancient traditions clashing with new ideas. Growing up in this melting pot of culture and conflict, Theodora learned to be both cautious and bold. She was determined not to be a mere spectator in life, but to take control of her destiny. It was this mixture of survival instincts, ambition, and innate strength that set her apart from those around her, even at a young age. Her meeting with Justinian, the man who would become emperor, was a meeting of two determined souls. Justinian was ambitious, groomed for power as the nephew of Emperor Justin I, and yet he found in Theodora not only a companion, but an equal partner. Their relationship was unconventional, especially given Theodora's origins, but it was rooted in mutual respect and a shared vision for what the empire could become. Justinian admired her courage and insight, qualities that made her invaluable in the dangerous world of Byzantine politics. Their marriage was met with skepticism and opposition by the aristocracy, who looked down upon Theodora's humble past. But Justinian stood firm, recognizing the rare strength she possessed. Together they formed a formidable team, with Theodora often advising Justinian behind the scenes. Her sharp mind and fearless nature made her a key player in court intrigues and state affairs. She helped navigate the treacherous waters of imperial politics, turning enemies into allies and ensuring their hold on power grew stronger. The early years of their rule promised much. Together they set out to restore the grandeur of the Roman Empire, launching reforms in law, architecture, and society. Theodora's influence extended beyond politics. She championed the rights of women and the poor, founding charitable institutions and advocating for social justice, in an era when such causes were rare for someone of her station. She was not just an empress in title, but a protector and reformer, pushing boundaries and challenging the old order. Yet, power is never without its price, and the trials to come would test Theodora's character and resolve. During the Great Nika riots, when the city erupted in violent rebellion threatening to overthrow Justinian, Theodora's true strength revealed itself. Many urged the emperor to flee, but Theodora insisted he stay and fight, her courage galvanizing the imperial forces. The rebellion was crushed with brutal force, securing their reign but leaving scars on the empire and its people. This moment marked a turning point for Theodora, a shift from hopeful reformer to resolute guardian of power, willing to make difficult, sometimes ruthless decisions to maintain order. Theodora's reign after the riots was complex and often contradictory. While she continued her philanthropic work, her influence also brought fear and controversy. She became a figure both revered and reviled, accused by some of cruelty and political manipulation. Rumours of scandals and intrigues swirled around the court, reflecting the dark side of her pursuit of power. Yet her reforms and dedication to justice persisted, revealing a woman who balanced compassion with a hard pragmatism born of the challenges she faced. Theodora's life embodied the delicate dance between benevolence and authority, a testament to the burdens of leadership. Time wore on, and Theodora's health eventually declined. When she passed away, the empire lost a figure of tremendous influence and spirit. Her death marked the end of an extraordinary chapter in Byzantine history, leaving behind a legacy that was debated by historians and remembered by generations. Some saw her as a symbol of corruption and ambition, others as a protector and visionary reformer. But all agreed that Theodora was a woman who transcended her origins to shape the destiny of an empire. Now, as you drift gently into sleep, let Theodora's story remind you of the strength that lies within, even in the most unlikely places. The past whispers to us across the ages, carrying lessons of courage, hope, and resilience. May these memories cradle you softly, guiding you toward peaceful dreams and restful night. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and may the quiet calm of history soothe your heart tonight. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Theodora carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Ranavalona, Queen of Madagascar. Queen Ranavalona Fani of Madagascar was born in the year 1778, amidst the rolling green hills and serene landscapes of the Merina Kingdom, nestled deep in the central highlands of Madagascar. From the moment she took her first breath, her life was wrapped in the rich traditions and ancient customs of her people. The Merina were a proud and resilient community, living in harmony with the land that stretched in gentle waves of forests and fertile fields beneath wide open skies. As a child, Ranavalona was surrounded by the soft sounds of nature, the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze, the distant calls of birds echoing through the valleys, and the rhythmic chanting of elders sharing stories by firelight. Her family belonged to the noble class, and she was taught from an early age to honour the ancestors, whose spirits were believed to watch over the living, guiding them in both good times and bad. Her early days unfolded quietly, filled with the simple joys of childhood tempered by the weight of expectation. Within the palace walls, the air was fragrant with the scent of sandalwood and blooming jasmine, a calming presence amidst the constant hum of palace life. She learned the ancient rituals of her people, the dances, the songs, and the sacred customs that bound the community together. Yet, beyond the palace gates, the world was beginning to change. Traders and missionaries from distant lands had begun arriving on Madagascar's shores, bringing with them new ideas, strange languages, and unfamiliar faiths. The gentle rhythm of the island was stirring, caught between the pulse of tradition and the tide of change. Ranavalona grew up watching this delicate balance, understanding that her future and that of her kingdom would be shaped by forces both old and new. As she matured, her path intertwined with that of Radama I, the king who dreamed of modernizing Madagascar. Their marriage in 1820 was not only a union of two people, but a merging of two visions: Radama's desire for openness and progress, and the deep roots of Malagasy tradition that Ranavalona carried within her heart. At first, the kingdom seemed poised to embrace a future where old and new might coexist. The palace buzzed with energy, with new ideas whispered alongside ancient prayers. However, fate's course shifted unexpectedly when Radama died in 1828, leaving a fragile kingdom and no clear heir. The council of elders and nobles looked to Ranavalona, entrusting her with the throne. The weight of this responsibility settled on her shoulders like the soft but unyielding fabric of a heavy cloak. Her ascent was not marked by fanfare but by quiet determination, a steady strength that would come to define her reign. In the beginning, her rule carried a sense of promise and stability. The scent of blooming frangipani filled the palace gardens, and the soft murmur of the nearby river seemed to whisper of peace. Madagascar's people watched as their queen, a woman of dignity and resolve, guided their land through uncertain times. Trade routes remained open, and some foreign influences were cautiously accepted, like gentle breezes carrying the scent of distant lands but not overwhelming the island's own voice. There was hope that Madagascar could thrive, preserving its identity while adapting to a changing world. Ranavalona's court was alive with music and ceremony, the soft beats of drums and flutes blending with laughter and the quiet conversations of advisers. The queen appeared to be a guardian of balance, blending the new with the old in measured steps. But the tranquility was not to last. Over time, Ranavalona's heart grew wary of those who came bearing foreign beliefs and customs. The gentle breezes began to carry whispers of suspicion and fear. She saw the growing influence of Christian missionaries not as light but as a shadow that threatened to dim the spirit of her people. This turning point was like a sudden storm breaking over the island, swift, powerful, and unsettling. She declared a return to the ancestral ways, calling for a renewal of old rites and a rejection of foreign faiths. The air in the kingdom grew heavy with tension, the peaceful rhythm replaced by the sharp edges of fear and control. The queen's voice, once a soothing presence, became firm and unyielding. She sought to protect Madagascar's soul by closing its doors to outside influences, a fierce act of preservation wrapped in stern resolve. What followed was a time marked by shadows and silence. The kingdom became a place where the crackle of fire and the soft footsteps of soldiers echoed through the night. Missionaries were forced to leave, their schools and churches abandoned, the once bright hopes of many dimmed. The Queen's laws grew strict, enforcing loyalty with punishments that chilled the heart. Secret police watched quietly from the shadows, and the air was often thick with the scent of fear. Accusations of treason or witchcraft could lead to imprisonment or worse, and many lived in constant watchfulness. Yet beneath this stern surface lay a fierce love for Madagascar's independence. The Queen's harsh hand was her way of holding fast against the tides of colonialism that sought to sweep her island away. Though isolated, the kingdom's spirit endured, guarded fiercely by a queen who bore the loneliness of power like a heavy night sky. As the years passed, the weight of rule settled deeper into Ranavalona's bones. The soft rustling of leaves no longer brought comfort, but reminded her of the growing storms beyond her reach. Her health began to fade as internal strife and external pressures mounted. Rebellions flickered like distant lightning, and European powers tightened their gaze on the island's riches. Yet she remained seated on her throne, a silhouette against the fading light, steadfast and unyielding. When she passed away in 1861, it was in the quiet stillness of the palace, away from the tumult of her reign. Her son Radama II took her place, ushering in a new chapter that would see the winds of change blow once more. Her death was not marked by violence or upheaval, but by the gentle closing of a long, complex story. Queen Ranavalona, His legacy is a tapestry woven with threads of courage, fear, strength, and sorrow. She stands as a figure both feared and revered, a symbol of a nation's struggle to hold fast to its soul in a world that demanded change. To some, she is remembered as a harsh and cruel ruler, whose iron will brought suffering and silence. To others, she is a guardian of Malagasy culture and independence, a queen who chose preservation over surrender. Her story is a reminder of the delicate balance between power and responsibility, the weight of history carried quietly on a woman's shoulders. It tells us that sometimes the greatest acts of love come wrapped in shadows, and that the fight for identity is as ancient and enduring as the land itself. Now, as you rest your head and let your breath slow, imagine the soft Malagasy twilight settling over the hills, the gentle chorus of night creatures weaving a lullaby just for you. Feel the calm embrace of the earth beneath you, steady and sure, and let the quiet strength of a distant queen guide you into peaceful dreams. Let your thoughts drift like the slow, steady river, carrying you gently into night's quiet arms. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Queen Ranavalona carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Empress Dowager Sixi, born into the quiet and noble Yehenara clan, in the year 1835, Lady Yehenara came into the world surrounded by the soft whispers of the Forbidden City's ancient walls. Her childhood unfolded in a delicate balance of tradition and strict rules, where the cool marble halls echoed with footsteps and the light filtered gently through paper windows. Though her family was not the highest among the Manchu nobility, they held a respected place within the Eight Banners, giving her a glimpse of the intricate dances of power and ceremony that defined palace life. From a very young age, she learned that silence could be as powerful as words, and subtlety was the key to survival. The scent of jasmine and sandalwood often lingered in the air, blending with the quiet hum of court life, where every gesture carried meaning and every day was a lesson in patience and careful observation. At 16, her life shifted quietly yet irrevocably when she was chosen to serve Emperor Xianfeng as a concubine, beginning her slow but sure ascent from noble lady to one who would wield great influence. Entering the emperor's court was like stepping into a delicate garden, where every flower vied for attention, and the breeze carried both opportunity and danger. Initially holding the modest rank of noble Lady Yi, she navigated the complex web of palace relationships with grace and intelligence. Her gentle demeanour concealed a sharp mind and a deep understanding of those around her. When she gave birth to the emperor's only surviving son, Zaichun, the future Emperor Tongji, the petals of her fate began to unfurl. This child became a bridge to power, a beacon in the dim corridors of palace intrigue. Upon Empress Xianfeng's untimely death, Yehenara, now Empress Dowager Cixi, took on the mantle of regent, guiding the young emperor's reign with a steady hand from behind the velvet curtains of authority. Her rise was not loud or violent, but marked by quiet strategy and an unwavering will, like the slow, sure turning of a river beneath still waters. The early days of her regency were like the soft light of dawn, filled with cautious hope and gentle promise. The Qing dynasty stood at a crossroads, surrounded by foreign powers that whispered threats, and by internal rebellions that stirred unrest. Yet Cixi's presence was a calming balm, a quiet strength that seemed to hold the empire together. She balanced the demands of tradition with the faint stirrings of change, allowing cautious reformers to voice ideas while restraining more radical shifts that might unsettle the fragile peace. The palace halls were filled with soft murmurings of plans and cautious optimism, like the gentle rustle of silk in the breeze. The young Emperor Tongji's reign, guided by his mother's careful hand, kindled a brief glow of stability and hope for a brighter future. For a time the empire seemed poised on the edge of renewal, held in the calm embrace of a watchful guardian. But as the days passed, shadows lengthened across the court. The death of Emperor Tongji in 1875 brought a sharp chill to the palace air, and Cixi's role deepened as she became regent once more, this time for her young nephew, Emperor Guangxu. The soft dawn of her early rule gave way to a dusk heavy with uncertainty. The slow erosion of her trust in reformers and the mounting pressures of foreign aggression and internal dissent hardened her resolve. Her heart, once open to cautious change, became guarded and wary, the light in her eyes dimmed by years of struggle and fear. Whispers of betrayal and plots filled the corridors, and the air grew thick with suspicion. Cixi's rule turned inward, wrapped in layers of secrecy and control, like the delicate paper screens that both revealed and concealed the palace's inner life. Her policies grew rigid, her grip on power tight and unyielding, reflecting the weight of the burdens she bore and the sharp edges of a world that no longer seemed gentle. In the long years that followed, the empire felt the heavy hand of stagnation and fear. Corruption wove its dark threads through the fabric of the court, where gifts and bribes flowed like quiet rivers beneath the surface. Officials loyal to Cixi flourished, their wealth growing as the people's suffering deepened in silence. The Empress Dowager's support of conservative forces and her suppression of reform movements choked the life from the hopes of renewal. The Boxer Rebellion, a tragic and violent uprising against foreign influence, burst forth like a sudden storm, bringing devastation in its wake. Though intended as a defense of tradition, it ended in humiliation and further foreign domination. The palace, once filled with the scent of jasmine and quiet strength, now carried the heavier sense of fear and regret. Stories of cruelty and scandal slipped through cracks in the grand walls, painting a portrait of a ruler who clung desperately to fading power, while the world outside changed swiftly. Cixi's final days were marked by the slow fading of an empire and a life weighed down by the choices of many decades. She passed away in 1908, her breath growing faint amid the twilight of the Forbidden City. Her death came quietly without fanfare, leaving behind a realm trembling on the brink of transformation. The young Emperor Guangxu, who had long been overshadowed, also died soon after, his passing wrapped in mystery and sorrow. The Qing dynasty itself would fall within a few short years, swept away by revolution and the tides of history. Yet in the stillness after her death, the echo of her long and complex reign lingered, a whisper of power and fragility intertwined. The dynasty she struggled to preserve dissolved, leaving behind lessons wrapped in the folds of time. Looking back, Empress Dowager Cixi's story offers a gentle reflection on the nature of power and change. She was a woman of extraordinary resilience and intelligence, navigating a world shaped by tradition and the winds of modernity. Her life reminds us how fear can twist good intentions and how the desire to protect can sometimes bind us in chains of our own making. She stands as both a cautionary tale and a symbol of strength, a figure who shaped history with quiet determination, but also bore the weight of an empire's final twilight. In her story, we find echoes of human frailty and ambition, a soft reminder that even great power carries a heavy, delicate burden. As your breath grows slow and steady, imagine the soft glow of lanterns illuminating the ancient halls where Cixi once walked, the gentle rustle of silk robes mingling with the quiet night. Let the cool night air and the distant murmur of history lull your mind into peaceful rest. Allow the delicate rhythm of her story to cradle you gently, guiding you softly into dreams filled with calm and quiet wonder. Sleep well, dear dreamer, wrapped in the soothing arms of night's embrace. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Empress Dowager Cixi carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Liliuokalani. Queen Liliuokalani was born on the 2nd day of September in the year 1838 into a family woven deeply into the fabric of Hawaiian nobility. Her full name, Lydia Liliu Lolaku Walenia Wawehi Kamakaeha, resonated with meaning and history, each part reflecting the mana, the spiritual power that coursed through her lineage. Her father, Caesar Kapeakea, was a respected high chief, and her mother, Analea Keohokalole, was a high chiefess, both known for their noble status and steadfast dedication to their people. From the very beginning, Liliuokalani's life was surrounded by the sacred traditions of the islands, where family and heritage were treasured above all else. She was raised in the warm embrace of her large family, among siblings who would also shape Hawaiian history, learning the values of humility, service, and honor that came with her position. Her childhood was a gentle mix of island life's natural rhythms and the structured expectations of royalty. Liliuokalani grew up in a world where the ocean's soothing waves and the rustling palms were constants, where chants and songs told stories of gods and ancestors, and where respect for the land was part of everyday living. She attended the chief's children's school, a place where Hawaiian aristocracy was carefully prepared for leadership, and there she was taught by missionaries who introduced her to English language, Western history, and classical music. The blending of these cultures shaped her outlook. She understood both the old Hawaiian ways and the emerging global forces that surrounded her islands. From a young age, Liliuokalani showed a natural gift for music and storytelling, talents that would later become a vital part of her legacy. Her days were filled with lessons in governance, language, and arts, but also moments of quiet reflection by the sea, where she dreamed of the future of her beloved Hawaii. Her path to the throne was not straightforward, but was shaped by fate, family ties, and the changing political currents of her time. Though not the first in line, Liliuokalani belonged to the House of Kalakaua, which rose to prominence when her older brother, David Kalakaua, was elected king in 1874 after the unexpected death of King Lunalilo, who left no direct heir. As Kalakaua's sister, she played a vital role in his reign, acting as an advisor, confidant, and cultural ambassador. She was deeply involved in the arts, composing songs that captured the spirit of the Hawaiian people, most famously the Aloha Oe, a farewell song that continues to touch hearts worldwide. When King Kalakaua passed away in 1891, Liliuokalani was chosen to succeed him, becoming Hawaii's first and only reigning queen. This moment was met with hope and anticipation by many Hawaiians who looked to her to protect their sovereignty and traditions during a time when foreign powers increasingly encroached upon the islands. The early days of her reign were filled with promise and determination. Queen Liliuokalani sought to restore the dignity and authority of the Hawaiian monarchy, which had been greatly diminished by the 1887 Bayonet Constitution, a document forced upon King Kalakaua that stripped much of the monarchy's power in favour of foreign businessmen and politicians. She worked tirelessly to draft a new constitution aimed at returning political rights to native Hawaiians and strengthening the monarchy's role in governing. This effort was met with opposition from a powerful group known as the Committee of Safety, composed largely of American and European businessmen who had grown accustomed to controlling the island's economy and politics. Despite their resistance, Liliuokalani's early reign inspired hope among many Hawaiians, who believed that the monarchy could once again be a protector of their land, culture, and future. She remained deeply connected to her people, advocating for their welfare and celebrating Hawaiian culture through music and public ceremonies, embodying the grace and spirit of her ancestors. Yet, the fragile hope of her reign was shattered by a sudden and violent turning point. In January 1893, the Committee of Safety, supported by the presence of US Marines who landed in Honolulu under orders from the American minister to Hawaii, staged a coup d'etat that overthrew Queen Liliuokalani's government. The Queen was arrested and placed under house arrest in her own palace, her attempts to negotiate peacefully disregarded by those who sought control over Hawaii's destiny. The trauma of this betrayal struck deeply, as Liliuokalani had hoped to protect her people without bloodshed. The coup was triggered in part by her attempt to promulgate the new constitution that would restore native rights, a move seen as a threat to the interests of the business elite. This moment marked a profound shift in her life, from sovereign ruler to captive, and heralded the end of native Hawaiian rule on the islands. The Queen's spirit remained unbroken, though the weight of loss settled heavily upon her, a quiet sorrow that would remain throughout her remaining years. Following the overthrow, Hawaii was governed by a provisional government established by the same businessmen who had orchestrated the coup. Queen Liliuokalani's imprisonment was symbolic of the broader suppression of native Hawaiian sovereignty and culture that followed. While she herself did not partake in corruption or cruelty, the period after her deposition saw the rise of policies that marginalized native Hawaiians, restricted their political rights, and gradually eroded their cultural identity. The monarchy was abolished, and efforts were made to annex the islands to the United States, a process completed in 1898 despite significant opposition from native Hawaiians and their allies. The Queen's personal suffering, including the restrictions on her freedom and her house arrest, contrasted sharply with the growing dominance of foreign interests. Yet through it all, Liliuokalani remained a symbol of dignity and resistance, quietly inspiring her people to remember their heritage and hope for a better future. The Queen's fall from power was not marked by dramatic violence, but by a slow, painful fading of the kingdom she had loved. In 1895, she formally abdicated the throne under pressure, hoping to prevent further bloodshed among her people. In the years that followed, she lived a life of quiet dignity, composing songs and by native Hawaiians and a reminder of the complex forces that shaped the island's history. Her reign teaches us about the fragility of sovereignty when confronted with economic and political interests, but also about the enduring power of culture and spirit. Liliuokalani's music and writings continue to echo through time, inspiring generations to honour their heritage and stand firm in their identity. Her story is a bridge between the ancient traditions of Hawaii and the modern world, a story that invites reflection on leadership and the meaning of true service to one's people. In the quiet moments before sleep, her life offers lessons of grace, courage, and strength that comes from loving one's homeland deeply. And soft tides wash gently over the shores of Hawaii, so may your thoughts drift peacefully into calm. Let Queen Liliuokalani's enduring spirit carry you softly toward dreams filled with beauty, hope, and quiet strength. Sleep well, dear dreamer, surrounded by the timeless whispers of history. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Queen Liliuokalani carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Christina of Sweden. Queen Christina of Sweden was born on a cold winter day in 1626, in the quiet halls of the royal palace. From the very start, she was surrounded by stories of bravery and wisdom. Her father, a warrior king who had fought fiercely for his land. Though he passed away when Christina was very young, his spirit seemed to linger gently in the air around her, whispering tales of courage. As a child, Christina was unlike other children. She was curious, thoughtful, and loved to sit quietly with books, soaking in the stories of faraway lands and ancient philosophers. The royal tutors who cared for her saw the sparkle in her eyes, a mind hungry to the world's mysteries. Her days were filled with lessons in languages and music, yet she often wandered alone in the palace gardens, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the songs of birds, finding peace in nature's gentle embrace. When Christina was still a little girl, the kingdom chose her to be the future queen. It was an unusual decision, for girls rarely wore crowns in those times, but fate had a special path for her, one that she would walk with quiet strength. As she grew, Christina prepared herself to lead, learning not just about power and politics, but also about art, philosophy, and faith. She was a young queen who thought deeply, who questioned the world, and who did not simply follow the rules written by others. Her early years as queen brought hope. She dreamed of peace and knowledge, of a kingdom where beauty and wisdom could bloom. Her palace echoed with music and lively discussions as poets, artists, and thinkers gathered in the soft candlelight, sharing ideas and laughter. There was warmth and brightness in these moments, a gentle promise that perhaps this new reign would be different. But as time passed, Christina's heart and mind began to wander down quieter, more complex paths. She wrestled with her beliefs, seeking answers in places that few dared to look. The weight of being a queen in a world bound by tradition sometimes felt heavy on her shoulders. She found comfort in learning and solitude, in the peaceful moments spent beneath the stars. Her decision to embrace a new faith was like a secret song she held close, a choice that brought both freedom and loneliness. Around her, the court's chatter softened, the once vibrant halls grew more mysterious, as if holding their breath. Christina no longer followed the expected path. She chose a life shaped by her own truths, stepping away from the crown she had worn. It was a gentle farewell, like the slow closing of a flower at dusk. After leaving the throne, Christina travelled to distant places, where she surrounded herself with art and beauty. Her days were filled with quiet joys, listening to the delicate notes of a lute, reading by soft candlelight, and walking through peaceful gardens that seemed to hold the calm of another world. Though far from Sweden, she found a different kind of freedom, one shaped by reflection and grace. Her life became a delicate dance of light and shadow, a story whispered softly through time. When she passed away many years later, it was with the quiet dignity of someone who had sought to live honestly and thoughtfully, who had carried the weight of her choices with gentle courage. Christina's story is a reminder of the beauty found in seeking knowledge, the strength in following one's own path, and the peace that can come from embracing who we truly are. In the stillness of the night, imagine her walking slowly through the gardens of her palace, the soft moonlight casting gentle shadows. Feel the calm that surrounded her, the quiet wisdom she carried in her heart. Let her journey guide your thoughts toward rest and dreams filled with gentle light. Sleep well, dear dreamer, and may your night be filled with peaceful whispers and soft stars. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Queen Christina carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history, sweet dreams. Tisten, Empress Myeongseong, Queen Min. Empress Myeongseong was born in 1851 into the gentle embrace of the Yohung Min clan, a family known for its deep roots in the traditions of Korea's Joseon dynasty. From her earliest days, the soft whispers of the palace gardens and the slow rhythm of the seasons surrounded her. In the calm mornings, she learned about honour, duty, and the delicate dance of life among the aristocrats. Her childhood was filled with quiet moments of reflection, where she observed the way sunlight played on ancient walls and how the gentle breeze carried stories of the past. These early experiences taught her patience and resilience, qualities that would gently guide her through the many changes ahead. As she grew into young adulthood, the path of destiny unfolded quietly before her. Through a bond of family and the careful weaving of alliances, she was chosen to become the wife of King Gojong. This moment brought her into the heart of the palace, a place filled with both light and shadow. It was here, surrounded by silken robes and softly glowing lanterns, that she began to understand the true weight of responsibility. The Empress was not simply a figure of status, she was a guardian of her people's hopes. Her gentle strength blossomed as she learned to navigate the subtle currents of power, always seeking harmony in a world that often felt turbulent. The early days of her reign were like the first rays of dawn, full of promise and quiet hope. She dreamed of a career that could grow strong and peaceful, where the winds of change would bring renewal without harm. With kindness and care, she encouraged new ideas to take root, supporting education and the well-being of her people. Her presence brought a sense of calm reassurance, like the soft rustle of leaves on a warm afternoon. Many in the kingdom felt her as a steady light, a calm harbour amid uncertain seas. Yet, as seasons change, so too did the world around her. The peaceful mornings slowly gave way to darker skies. External forces sought to shape the land and its people, and the palace walls seemed to close in with tension. The Empress faced challenges that tested her spirit deeply, moments where she needed to stand firm like an ancient tree against a rising storm. Though the world grew more complex, her heart remained steadfast. She became more cautious, her gaze steady and her resolve quiet but unbreakable, always focused on protecting the fragile beauty of her homeland. In the years that followed, the palace was filled with murmurs and shifting shadows. The Empress's firm choices sometimes caused unrest, yet they were always made with a hope to keep her people safe. There were moments of quiet sorrow and sacrifice, but also moments where courage shone like the gentle glow of a lantern in the night. She held tightly to the dream of a peaceful future, even when the path was strewn with difficulties. Her story became one of endurance and quiet strength, a reminder that true leadership often walks alongside deep challenges. Her life came to a gentle but tragic close when she was taken from the world too soon. Though her passing was filled with sadness, it was also a moment that echoed with the enduring spirit she had nurtured. Her legacy was like the soft petals of a flower that continue to bloom even after the season has passed. The memory of Empress Myeongseong remains a peaceful reminder of the strength found in calm resolve and the beauty of standing tall through the changing winds of time. Looking back, Empress Myeongseong's life is a soothing story of courage and care, woven with the quiet hope of a nation longing for peace. Her journey whispers gentle lessons about patience, resilience, and the enduring power of love for one's home. As the night deepens, her tale settles softly into the heart, inviting rest and reflection, like a calm river flowing beneath a silver moon. As you close your eyes tonight, let the story of Empress Myeongseong carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. In the heart of a vast green land, where soft winds gently kissed the leaves and rivers flowed like silver threads through the earth, a special child was born. Her name was Nzinga, born into the royal family of Ndongo, a place alive with the quiet songs of birds and the gentle hum of nature. From her very first breath, the world around her whispered stories of strength and kindness, stories that would soon become part of her own journey. Nzinga's early days were filled with the warm embrace of her family, the gentle touch of her mother, and the steady presence of her father, the king, who ruled with care and wisdom. As she grew, she watched the rhythms of her kingdom, the steady flow of seasons, the soft rustle of grass underfoot, the bright light of dawn spilling over the hills. Nzinga's childhood was a time of learning and wonder. She listened carefully to the stories told by elders beside the fire, their voices low and soothing. Her mother taught her to feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath her feet and to understand the quiet language of the trees and rivers. In this peaceful world, Nzinga's mind blossomed with curiosity and gentle strength. She learned many languages, including the Portuguese tongue brought by distant visitors, not out of fear but to understand and protect her people better. The world beyond her home was changing quietly, and Nzinga knew she must be ready to meet it with grace. When her father passed, the path to leadership was uncertain. Her brother took the throne, but the winds of change were beginning to stir. The Portuguese, with their ships and strange customs, sought to spread their influence across the land. Nzinga watched closely, her heart steady but alert. She understood that her kingdom needed more than strength. It needed careful thought, kindness, and courage. Slowly she stepped forward, using her wisdom and gentle words to speak with those who came from faraway places. Her voice was calm and clear, a beacon of hope and peace in uncertain times. The moment came when Nzinga embraced her destiny as queen. Though some doubted her, she moved with quiet confidence, gathering friends and allies who believed in her vision of a peaceful and strong kingdom. Her early days as ruler were filled with gentle hope. She walked among her people with an open heart, listening to their dreams and worries like a soft breeze listening to the trees. Nzinga was a queen who blended tradition with kindness, who held the strength of a warrior but the gentleness of a mother. The future seemed bright as she worked to protect her land and her people from the growing shadows beyond their borders. Yet, life's river does not always flow smoothly. As the Portuguese grew more persistent, Nzinga faced moments of deep challenge. She and her people moved quietly through forests, the soft crunch of leaves underfoot blending with the distant call of birds. In these times her resolve deepened, and her spirit became as steady as the river's flow. Though the path was sometimes harsh, Nzinga met it with calm determination. She chose peace when she could, but when necessary she stood firm like the ancient trees that had witnessed many storms before. Her story grew richer with each challenge, shaped by the steady beat of courage and care. Some saw Nzinga's strength as fierce, but it was always guided by a deep love for her people. She made decisions with a careful heart, even when the weight of those choices was heavy. Her voice remained a calm song in the winds of change, and her spirit, though tested, was never broken. Through long nights under starry skies, she planned and dreamed of a future where her kingdom would rest safely and peacefully. Her life was a dance of light and shadow, of resilience and hope, and in that dance she carried the dreams of generations. As the years passed, Nzinga's time as queen gently drew to a close. Her body grew tired, but her spirit shone bright like the first morning light. When she finally rested, her people remembered her as a queen who had walked with grace through storms, a woman who listened to the earth and the hearts of those she loved. Her story became a soft song carried on the winds, a reminder that strength is born of kindness and courage combined. Now, as you settle into the quiet of your night, imagine the soft rustling of leaves, the gentle ripple of the river, and the warm glow of a fire glowing softly in the distance. Let the calm spirit of Queen Nzinga wrap around you like a gentle blanket, carrying you into peaceful dreams filled with light and hope. Sleep well, dear dreamer, wrapped in the gentle arms of history's quiet strength. As you close your eyes tonight, let the gentle story of Queen Nzinga carry you softly into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Empress Irene of Athens. In the marbled city of Athens, beneath skies bathed in golden light, a girl named Irene was born. Her name meant peace, though the roads she would walk were made of silence and steel. From an early age, fate called to her, not with fanfare, but with soft curling fingers of destiny. Her parents passed before she truly knew them, and yet nobility ran through her veins. The empire noticed, the palace sent for her, and so the Athenian girl left the land of philosophers and poets to enter a world of crimson silk and whispered power, Constantinople, the beating heart of the Byzantine Empire. She was chosen to be a bride, offered to Prince Leo IV like a carefully wrapped promise. Her beauty, they said, was as radiant as the mosaics that gleamed on church ceilings. But Irene was more than beauty. Within her lived the calm of calculation and the quiet strength of stone. At 17 she married the prince, and her life became a dance of duty, observation, and quiet rebellion. When Leo ascended the throne, she became empress. But it wasn't until he died that her true journey began. Their son, Constantine, was only a boy, and in his youth she stepped forward, not as a mother only, but as regent and ruler in all but name. The early years of her rule were gentle, filled with hope. She opened the gates to long-banished icons, and once again the painted faces of saints smiled from the church walls. A great council met at her bidding, and the empire, weary from division, seemed to exhale at last. Monks returned to their prayers, artists to their colours. For a moment the winds were calm, but winds change. As young Constantine grew into manhood, so too grew the tension between mother and son. He wished to rule. She was not ready to step aside. He made his moves, tentative, unsure, and she countered them with practised grace. There were times he banished her, then called her back. Each time she returned more watchful, more quiet, more prepared. And then, in the hush of a fateful year, Irene acted. Her son, now emperor in title, was seized. In the soft-lit corners of the palace, where shadows never quite left the marble, he was blinded, his sight taken, and with it, his right to rule. Some say he perished soon after, his voice silenced forever. A mother had taken her child's crown, and his future. She became emperor, not empress, but Basilius, a title no woman had ever claimed alone. Draped in imperial purple, Irene ruled not beside a man, but in his place. The empire, for all its ceremony and gold, now bent beneath the will of one woman. But power is a lonely companion. The empire began to strain. The West refused to see a woman as Caesar's heir. In distant Rome a new emperor was crowned, Charlemagne, and the weight of Irene's decision echoed across Christendom. Within her own halls trust withered. One by one advisers turned, coins grew scarce, soldiers murmured in the barracks. And finally the throne she had grasped so fiercely was taken from her. Nikephoros, once her minister, turned emperor himself, and Irene was exiled. Far from the silks and domes of Constantinople, she lived her final days on the island of Lesbos. The sea, endless and blue, whispered lullabies outside her window. No court, no crown, only a memory of power and the sound of the waves. In time, she faded, forgotten by some, feared by others. Historians would argue for centuries. Was she a saint of the icons or a tyrant in robes? Was she a mother driven mad by ambition or a ruler ahead of her time? Perhaps she was all of these and more. The tale of Irene drifts through time like incense rising from a quiet chapel. Her footsteps echo faintly in long cold corridors. Yet even in her fall she changed the fabric of history. She ruled when no woman was meant to rule. She dared when others bowed. And now her story rests. Let your eyes grow heavy, dear listener. Let the past grow soft like candlelight behind a veil. The empire is silent now. The sea near Lesbos is calm, and Irene, once queen of all, sleeps in shadows and starlight. As you close your eyes tonight, let the lessons of Empress Irene carry you gently into a world of dreams. Sleep well, dear traveller of history. Sweet dreams. Queen Himiko. As twilight falls softly over the misty islands of ancient Japan, a serene hush blankets the land. Imagine quiet forests, where the trees sway gently like whispers in the wind, calm rivers that reflect the fading light, and distant mountains standing like silent guardians beneath a sky brushed with the last hues of sunset. In this tranquil realm lived Queen Himiko, a mysterious and wise ruler whose presence was as soothing as the gentle breeze and as steady as the ancient earth beneath her feet. From the very moment she was born, Himiko was touched by the sacred rhythms of nature. She came into the world like the first soft light of dawn, wrapped in the quiet songs of the birds and the gentle rustling of leaves. Raised amidst the ancient traditions of her people, she learned to listen deeply to the murmurs of the wind, the flow of the rivers, and the heartbeat of the earth itself. Her spirit blossomed in silence and reflection, calm and thoughtful, like a still pond that mirrors the silver glow of the moon. As she grew, Himiko's wisdom and quiet strength became apparent to all. When the time came for her to rise to power, it was not with the clamour of war or harsh commands, but through grace, respect, and the deep trust of her people. She stepped into her role as both a sovereign and a priestess, a bridge between the earthly world and the divine. With every word she spoke, every gesture she made, she wove harmony into the hearts of those around her, guiding her kingdom with gentle hands and a steady heart. Her early reign was a season of peace and prosperity. Under her watchful eyes, scholars and priests gathered to share knowledge. Poets sang songs that echoed the beauty of the land, and farmers tended their fields in quiet joy. The air was thick with the scent of blooming cherry blossoms and incense, and the people felt the calm strength of their queen in every breeze that stirred the bamboo groves. Yet, even the most serene waters sometimes hide deep currents. As her influence grew, so did the envy and unrest among rival clans. Whispers of dissent floated like shadows across the land, threatening to disturb the delicate balance she had nurtured. But Himiko faced these challenges with patience and wisdom. Through diplomacy, spiritual rituals, and a calm but unwavering resolve, she transformed tension into understanding, guiding her people through storms without ever raising a sword. This turning point marked her reign with a deeper strength, one born not from conquest but from compassion and insight. Though some sought to undermine her, the queen's spirit remained unbroken, a steady flame glowing softly through the darkest nights. Over time, however, the burdens of leadership weighed heavy. Though she continued to lead with grace, the quiet struggles behind the palace walls remained hidden from the world. Still, her legacy was not of turmoil but of balance, a reminder that true power often lies in stillness, patience, and the courage to listen. When at last her journey came to a close, Queen Himiko passed gently into the mists of history, leaving behind a legacy as timeless as the islands themselves. Her story lingers like a soft song on the wind, a lullaby of peace, wisdom, and resilience that whispers through the ages. Now, as you lie here, feel the soft glow of paper lanterns flickering in the evening breeze, the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers filling the air, and the distant soothing call of night birds. Let the calm energy of Queen Himiko's spirit wrap around you like a warm, gentle breeze, quieting your thoughts and easing your mind. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the stillness of the forests, the flow of the rivers, and the strength of the mountains fill your heart. Let the story of this wise queen carry you gently into dreams, as peaceful and eternal as the quiet island she once ruled. Sleep well, dear dreamer. Sleep well, cradled by the calm and gentle spirit of a queen who brought harmony and hope to her land.